What does it mean? We're going to talk about the federal and state regulatory agencies that control or regulate what you do with infection control, okay? Ever heard of people like OSHA and the FDA and stuff like that? Okay? I don't know what's going on there.
It's too freezing.
All right, so we're also going to talk about the principles of infection control. What are the principles of infection control and the different type of pathogens that we see in the nail industry, okay? Just turn it off.
Okay.
All right, so we'll also talk about how we're going to employ the principles of infection and infection control and prevention, as well as standard precautions. Anybody know what standard precautions is? You ever heard of it? Just turn it off.
Like wearing gloves before.
Standard precautions.
Being aware.
That's a good one. Okay. But standard precautions, you've probably heard that word before, but standard precautions basically is how we treat everybody. Do you kiss everybody in the mouth when you greet them? Right? You see what I'm saying? So standard precautions, we're going to treat everybody like they got something, like everybody had. You don't just say, you know what, you look like you have HIV. You look like you got COVID. We're going to treat everybody standard precaution like they got something going on. Okay? We're going to treat everybody like they have some kind of disease or disorder so that we can protect ourselves. Good morning. Go ahead and have a seat, darling, after you sign in. We're going to also demonstrate safe work practices and safety precautions, okay, today. So, first thing first. What is infection control? What does it mean? What does it mean? What does that mean?
Doing something to keep from spreading infections. That's mine.
Okay. What we do to control the spread of infections and diseases. Okay. Now, there are levels to infection control. Okay. There's levels to everything, but there are levels to infection control. The first one being what, you guys? Cleaning. Okay? We have to clean things first before we can sanitize, disinfect, or sterilize. Okay? So let's talk about what is cleaning.
Wiping it down, washing it down.
Right. Wiping the surface down, cleaning the dust off of it, cleaning the debris, all of that good stuff, right? So, for instance, let me give you a good explanation of why this chapter is important to me, okay, and what I see all the time. So you got hand sanitizer, right? Y'all know what hand sanitizer is, right? Okay. So you got hand sanitizer, and I see it all the time. You're sitting here at McDonald's, or maybe you're at a restaurant, you know, you're at Olive Garden or Carrabba's or something, and you see a family, and you see them sitting there, and no, the food hasn't come out yet. The kids are just playing. One's digging in their nose, one's, you know, scratching their head, and mama's, you know, on her face and stuff. And then the food comes out, and the mama goes, "Wait." And she brings out the hand sanitizer. She's like, "Everybody, give me your hands."
Let's see, me and my family.
Right. That's how you do it, right? But you know you're wrong, right? You know you all the way wrong, right? Why are you all the way wrong?
You didn't clean your hands.
You gotta wash your hands first. Okay, so you know I love to talk about poo as an example of things, right? So let's just use this as an example, okay? You got a little boo-boo on your hands. Got a little boo-boo on your hands, right? And you just say, okay, I'm just gonna take some hand sanitizer and I'm just gonna rub it around and now it's clean. Is that gonna work? Absolutely not. First thing you're gonna do is do what? Wash your hands. They need to see these. Wash your hands. So if you don't wash your hands first, you just spreading the boo-boo around. Just spreading it around. And now you got sanitized boo-boo on your hands. Right? What? So you see where I'm going with this? Hand sanitizer is one of the biggest gimmicks out there. Hand sanitizer does absolutely nothing if you don't clean your hands first. So how many times have you gone to the nail salon and maybe you didn't wash your hands, or maybe they didn't even ask you to wash your hands? And they just like, here you go, there's some hand sanitizer on my table. Just, what is that doing? Absolutely nothing, right? It's not doing a thing. So the very first step I want you guys to remember is cleaning. Cleaning. You must clean the surface. When you sit down at your table, remember when we talk about state board, what is the first thing you have to do? Whoop. Pull out the wipes. And guess what? With what? What do you have to have on your hands? Gloves. Okay? You got to have gloves, because what good is you wiping that? Let's think about it. What if you got poo on the table? You're just going to pull your hand out with no gloves on it and just wipey wipe with your bare hands. I mean, we know we do it with our babies, right? We wipe them, we get that little poopy thing all over. It's poopy and you just rubbing it all on their butt, and you know, it's your babies, right? But would you do that with anybody else? No, you would not. You would not. Okay? So, make sure you got your gloves on. Make sure you got your gloves on. So cleaning is the first step. You got to clean that table off, and you want to make sure that you clean it with soap and water, or if it's, remove the debris is what I mean. Remove the debris. Okay? You cannot have a bunch of stuff on that table and then just take some hand sanitizer or some sanitizing wipes and be done with it. You've got to make sure that you remove the debris. So if I was going to be, let's just say, I just finished a set of nails and I've got dust all over my table, and there's polish on the table, and let's just say there's nail clippers on the table, nail clippings on the table, all the client's cuticle dust on the table. Are you just gonna take a disinfectant wipe and just, no. You're gonna take you a wet towel that's got some soap and water on it, and you're gonna wipe it down, okay? Wipe it down. Now, after that, then we sanitize or disinfect the table, right? With a gloved hand with a wipe. Now, sterilization. Let's talk about what is sterilization. Sterilization kills everything, okay? Have you ever heard of, let's just say, a woman that is sterile? Have you ever heard someone say she's sterile? She cannot have children, cannot get pregnant. Maybe she doesn't, they have taken her complete uterus out. She can't have no babies. So sterilization is when you completely kill everything that is living. And how do we sterilize something?
High heat.
Autoclave. High heat. Very good. And where is our autoclave, y'all? Y'all see it over there? The autoclave is very, very expensive in the sense that, you know, the cheapest one you can buy, it's probably about $600-700. And that's for a personal nail technique, just sitting on your table, okay? No, it's not big enough for a whole salon. It's not big. So that's a school size one, okay? That one is for my school size, we'll put it like that. So we can fit enough implements in there that we can probably do 20-30 implements at a time, okay? Now, is a sterilizer or autoclave, is it mandatory?
I wouldn't think so.
No, it's not mandatory. You can do everything that you need to do to get your implements sanitized and disinfected with just barbicide. Okay? But you got to do it right. You have to do it right. And that's why this chapter is so important, because you probably think, just like you said, you just take the bleach, you just... That's not right. That's not correct. Okay? Now, before we get into sterilization and all that stuff, I'm going to ask you, how often do you sweep the floors at your house? Every day, right? Anytime you see a big old chunk of dirt or dust, all of some people. I mean, I'm hardly there. So, but if you're there and you're living in your house, you sweep the floors every day, don't you? How about mopping the floors?
Every 2 weeks to a month.
You mop them as often as needed, and then on a schedule, right? What about how often do you clean your bathroom and clean your toilet out and actually get your hands in there and clean that thing out? I know my mama used to make me do it every day.
Every Sunday.
My mama was like, "You pooing it every day, don't you?
Yeah.
Get in there and clean that toilet, right?" And main thing was reason for that is because she was like, my mom was always worried about guests coming over. If you entertain people and they come to your house and and then it was always the guest bathroom that stayed clean, right? That one, how you keep your bathroom is one thing, but you better make sure my guest bathroom is clean. Period. Okay. So, what about the doorknobs?
When I clean the bathroom?
Yeah.
Like the daily. You're supposed to do that every day.
I mean, how often do you actually take a disinfectant wipe and Lysol, whatever, and wipe down the doorknob?
Once a week due to COVID.
Right.
I only started it because of COVID.
Right. What about how often do you take the hair and stuff out of your comb and clean that out? And think about it, because if you don't, Selena, you got long, pretty hair, right?
Yeah.
You wash your hair every day, don't you? Every few days.
Yeah.
Right. I gotta wash this old thin wispy stuff every day, because if I don't, it's gonna look like I'm gonna look like a wet dog, like dirty. I'm gonna smell like a dirty wet dog too. Okay, but you got thick, pretty, long hair. You comb that hair every day, don't you?
Yeah.
You comb that hair every day, don't you?
Yeah.
If you don't clean your brushes and your combs, what is in that comb and that brush that you brushing your hair with every day?
All that debris and
All your dandruff, or maybe even the oils from your hair. It's so when you go and brush your hair, you're just putting dirt right back in it.
Yeah.
Right? So I say that to say hairstylists, they're supposed to do it after every client. Isn't that gross? If you look at a hairstylist brings out a comb and it got a big old chunk of somebody else's hair in there. Right? You
I
good?
never thought about it.
Yeah. Now, listen, after you take this chapter, you are going to change the way you clean. You're going to change the way you think about everything. I know I did. When I had to teach this chapter in front of a state board proctor in order for me to get this school open, when I tell you, baby, I was like, oh, I never thought about that. Think about it all the time now. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about the federal and state regulatory agencies that are over infection control and how we clean and how we do things in our businesses and our salons. Okay? Anybody ever heard of OSHA? Who is OSHA? What does it stand for?
I just graduated.
Occupational
Should be right there in your book on page 97. Say that again.
The Occupational Safety and Health Administration.
Occupational Safety and Health Administration. What does that mean? Let's break that down. Occupational.
Job.
Your job, where you work. Okay? Safety. What does that word mean?
Be safe.
Staying safe, making sure that you don't get hurt, making sure at your job that you are doing things to keep yourself from being injured, hurt, exposed, okay? Health administration. So making sure that you stay healthy. You can get sick. So have y'all ever heard of these lawsuits that people put out there that are like, I got this disease from working at this job or things like that? You know what I'm saying? It's asbestos. You ever heard of asbestos? Asbestos. It's this stuff that's apparently that's in old buildings, right? And if you breathe it, it can cause cancer. It can cause you to have lung problems and things like that. So I've heard of lots of lawsuits out there where people are like, I worked in this place and now I'm sick, or now I have this issue, right? So OSHA is the agency, and they're part of the U.S. Department of Labor. And when you get your own salons, and when you become a boss, or when you own a business, you're going to get real familiar with the U.S. Department of Labor, okay? But they regulate and enforce the safety to protect your employees in the workplace, okay? And they set a standard that you as an employer have to abide by. Now, OSHA, they address issues relating to the handling, mixing, and storing of chemicals and disposing of products. Generally, safety in the workplace and your right to know any of these potential hazardous ingredients contained in the products to avoid these hazards. So what that means is you as an employee or you as an employer, OSHA is going to make sure that you have a standard or safety data sheets. You ever heard of those? Which for every chemical that you have in your salon, you should be able to either pull up a safety data sheet or have them on hand. I was at Sam's the other day and I randomly see, this is the stuff I see now that I'm, own a school and teaching a school and have business and stuff like that. I was at Sam's the other day and they had a eye wash station. Y'all seen those before? In the science lab in school, because you a fresh baby just out of high school. So you remember the science lab having the eye wash station, right? They also had hanging beside the eye wash station a bunch of papers, and it said SDS forms available upon request. And they were also in a book. And what do you think the forms that were in there, what they contained, what they had in them? What is an SDS form? Safety data sheet. What do you think that has on it?
All the chemicals and what they have in them. I think they have, like, if they're hazardous, they're inflammable.
Yeah, all that stuff. It's basically going to tell you, if you get this chemical in your eye, run to the doctor. Go to the ER. Flush with water right away. Things like that. If you swallow it, you'll be okay. If you get it on your skin, will it burn? It tells you everything, okay? And OSHA, if you have employees, they're going to require that you have, this is why I don't have no employees, because I ain't going to be no responsible for all these people now. But when you have employees and you are actually paying employment labor taxes and things like that, you're required to have this stuff hanging up in your business, okay? So what happens if you don't?
Close down, fine, all that.
Fines, shut your doors, shut your business down, close everything, just ruin your whole life.
As an employer, if you don't have that OSHA sign on their board too.
Right.
They'll shut you down.
They'll shut you down. Just having this stuff hanging in your salon, okay? Hanging in your salon if you have employees. So my sweets, I'm not an employer. I'm the landlord. Okay? So, but the girls that have sweets, that have employees, they need to consider having that. Okay? And how many times have you been to a salon? We're going to always tie this into a nail salon because we a nail school, right? How many times you gone to the nail salon, you seen a something say, safety data sheets available upon request? What if you sitting at the, because I've seen this before. I done had a little baby. This why I don't allow children in my salon, and y'all can get mad if you want to, argue with your mama. What does that monomer look like? What's that purple monomer look like? I ain't even got mine. I gave it to you. What? It look like some Gatorade. Look like Gatorade. And the kids, yeah, it ain't nothing in that bottle. But the kids, first thing they want to do, I done had a baby sitting on their mama's lap and they grab stuff quick. Thank God the top was on it, but little baby just, I'm like, no, get these children out of here. No kids in my salon. No. It's too many chemicals in here. Too many chemicals in here. Acrylic powder, what does that look like? Look like those little dipsticks. Come on now. And what happens if a baby swallows monomer? Well, I don't know.
I don't know, but they gotta go to the hospital.
Well, I know one thing. You better rush them to the ER because I don't know what's gonna happen to them, right? But if you are working with, let's just say these bigger name companies, right? OPI, CND, you can go to their website, request safety data sheets. They have them. Okay? So it's very important that you follow these rules. Let me tell y'all a little story real quick. When I was an EMT and I was working on the ambulance, we got called out to a place, and it's not here no more, and I don't know if this is the reason why, but I love that little restaurant. It was called Tilly's Peas and Butter Beans. Cute little name. This was years ago. Some of y'all wasn't even born. Tilly's Peas and Butter Beans. It was a soul food restaurant over on Riceboro Road. Used to eat there all the time. We got called out there for a young lady who was in respiratory distress. I thought she was having an asthma attack. Well, they called the fire department out there too, so I knew it was something else. We get out there, and turns out the girl was in respiratory distress because she mixed bleach and ammonia to clean the floor. And guess what happened?
She tried to make a bomb.
You said she tried to make a bomb. She probably felt like she did. Well, what happens when you mix bleach and ammonia? A big pure white plume of smoke, looked like a bomb, blew up into her face. And when you breathe that, it is fatal. It can be fatal.
Isn't that chlorine gas?
You could tell me you just left high school. What do you tell me?
Hey, just because I just left, don't mean I really paid attention.
You must have, because baby, she like, isn't that cure? Because she done made a bomb.
And that senior year though, I was barely there.
Well, at the end of the day, you can't mix chemicals like that.
Yeah, my son made himself dizzy.
Yeah, you cannot mix chemicals. Y'all, let me tell you what I used to do. I used to take Fabuloso and put it on the stove. Put it in a pan and put it on the stove for the air to. My mama used to do that. Oh, no. But when I found out that right there is like toxic for you to burn it. Here we are, house smelling like, I love the smell of that purple Fabuloso. It smells so good. Oh my God. Purple Fabuloso. Put it in the toilet if you want it that day. Right. Put it in the toilet and just let it sit in there. Yeah. Right? But not supposed to be done. If you read the instructions on the back, do not heat. You catch something on fire. Right? So that place is no longer open. I don't know I'm sure that wasn't the reason, but that young lady suffered with burns in her windpipe. I don't know what happened to her. We didn't have to intubate her, thank God, and breathe for her, but she could not breathe. Could not breathe. And we weren't even, because one of the first rules that we have as EMTs is we have to ask ourselves, is the scene safe? We can't even, a dead EMT is no good to nobody. If you over there dying because of something that you did, call 911. Now I go out there, I'm dead too, right? So the first thing they ask us, is the scene safe? And the reason the fire department came out there is because the scene was not safe. They had to go in there with their masks, bring her out to us so that we could treat her. So think about that. You can literally, in this nail salon, create a place that is not safe for you and your employees or your customers. So you need to be aware that there are certain things that you are not supposed to do. Okay, when it comes to chemicals and things of that nature. Now, who is the EPA?
Environmental Protection Agency.
Environmental Protection Agency. So if the OSHA people are designed or they're here to protect your employees, your workers, who is the EPA designed to protect? The environment. Okay? So for instance, a lot of people ask me, Miss Mary, how do I get rid of acetone? Well, do we just throw it outside on the grass? Can we pour it down the sink?
No.
Why?
If you put a hole in your body.
Well, that part too. That part. But it's going down into our water system. You pour out monomer and acetone and alcohol and pour it into the grass. That means it's seeping down into the land that we make food and all that stuff. We grow food in the ground. I mean, not out here in the hood on the street right here, but you're not supposed to be, because that stuff evaporates into it's all a cycle, right? It evaporates up into the sky and then it rains down. Now, what if it started raining down acetone? You all would be real mad and them lace fronts would be gone. Ain't be gone. Everything just like acid rain, right? So we need to make sure that we are following the rules of the EPA too, because you're not going to go to jail if you break these rules, but you might as well take me to jail if you fine me $50,000 for something that I could have prevented, right? So, something I want you guys, and you guys at home, I want you to do the same thing. Will you give this to one of the young ladies over there? I want you guys to take a look at, grab that bottle of bleach right there. I want you to look at the can. And I want you to tell me what the EPA registered number is on that Lysol can.
777-99.
So, what is the EPA registered number? And why does it need to be there?
Maybe
To look and see if it's registered.
But why do I need to look and see if it's registered?
directions, maybe.
Yeah, so you know what it is and what it can
Dispose
be.
of it.
Okay. That registration number certifies that this disinfectant, when used correctly, will be effective against the pathogens listed on the label. That number certifies that the disinfectant, when used correctly, will be effective against the pathogens listed on the label. So what are the pathogens listed on this label? It's a big one right here on the front. It says kills over 100 illness-causing germs, including the COVID-19 virus. So what are some of the germs that it kills? It's literally all of them are listed. It's the whole top blue portion of this can. I ain't got my glasses on, Lord. I implore y'all. Salmonella. Let's see. We got Bordetella pertussis, whooping cough.
Hand, foot, mouth disease.
E. coli. Staphylococcus aureus.
All types of stuff.
I ain't never heard Coxsackie type B virus. That's the hand, foot, and mouth disease. Influenza. Triphoton. Everything. But let's talk about it. It says certifies that when used correctly. How do we know when we're using it correctly? When we read the instructions. Let me give you an example. Any of y'all grannies used to put a cap full of bleach in y'all bath water? Y'all got young grannies. We talking about the old grannies. How about your great grandma?
Yeah,
one
Cause y'all grannies young. Y'all still young.
I know getting that little A cotton ball, a little bit of bleach, put it on that ringworm.
Ooh, yeah. Now, where on that bottle of bleach does it say for use on ringworm?
Nowhere.
Nowhere, because you know what?
Don't put directly on your skin. So
It
what?
does.
Guarantee you, it say do not put bleach on your skin.
It does.
Guarantee you.
I promise to you. That's the main thing I heard. You need to get a.
I used to take bleach water baths every time I went to my granny's house. Every time.
Nah.
Cap full of bleach. Well, first of all, how do you dilute bleach with a cap full? How much bleach can you put in a black bath water to clean somebody? Cap full? Come on now. That ain't gonna work. But you know what? That's the old mentality, right? So you must, it says, when correctly used, when used correctly, will be effective against the pathogens listed on the label. So if this says here, somebody with good eyes, directions for use. First thing that I want you to read, and it says I guarantee you, I bet you $1 million that it says the same verbiage. Read it for me, Deasia.
It is a violation of federal law to use this product in a manner inconsistent with its label.
Pause. It is a violation of federal law. Y'all know the feds, right? Y'all know the song, Feds knocking on their feds. I don't play with the federal government. Okay? It says it is a violation of federal law to use this product in a manner inconsistent with its labeling. What does it say? What does it say on that one? Same thing? That's what it says. Hello.
I sure don't use bleach right though. I know that.
Nobody uses bleach correctly. How many times you just bloop, 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 right into your, and then you splash a little extra splash for a little extra flavor in your white clothes.
Ooh, I know how to.
Just a little extra. I'm just saying. A little extra. Just for a little extra, right? So, to continue what the directions say, read the entire label before using this product. How many times have you ever read the label, the directions? Never. Okay, never ever. All right. So pre-clean the surface prior to use. First direction. Pre-clean the surface prior to use. So if I take this, because I done did this before too, I'm guilty. You cleaning your bathroom, right? Somebody done came to your house and took a poo on your toilet. First thing you want to do is all on the toilet bowl, right?
I get bleach.
Did you clean it before you sprayed it?
I do.
Some people don't. I mean, some people just do this right here on everything, just leave it and then let it dry, right? So the point of what I'm trying to tell you is don't nobody follow the directions. Okay, let's keep going. Pre-clean. Okay, hold the can upright 6 to 8 inches from surface. Spray 3 to 4 seconds until covered with mist. Now, there's different directions for different uses. To deodorize. Now, what does it mean to deodorize?
Use as a little air freshener.
Like to use as a little air freshener, right? Spray on surface as needed, right? So, for instance, you can spray this on your couch if it got a little funk to it, like Febreze. It say spray as needed, right? To sanitize surface. Now here's the one that's gonna this was gonna get y'all every time. That's how I know y'all ain't doing it right. Surfaces must remain wet for 10 seconds, then allowed to air dry. So you gotta spray enough of this so that it stays wet for at least 10 seconds. How many times you just went? What's that doing?
Air freshener.
That's it. It's doing absolutely nothing. It's a little wet, wet. Probably shouldn't have done that on my book here. But I'm just saying, what's it doing? Absolutely nothing. It says when used correctly. Okay, let's keep going. To disinfect. Now, that was to sanitize. Remember hand sanitizer? Psh, little To disinfect, surfaces must remain wet for how long? 3 minutes. Then allowed to air dry. Air dry. So that means you don't wipe it off. If I want to disinfect this computer screen, I gotta spray this to where it's dripping wet and stays wet for at least 3 minutes. Okay. Now, it says for norovirus, hepatitis A virus, adenovirus, mycobacterium, blah blah blah. Surfaces must remain wet for 10 minutes. So basically, if you really want to kill everything, the bad stuff, it's got to stay wet for 10 minutes. Do you know how much of this can I'm going to use if I got to make it wet enough that it stays wet for 10 whole minutes? The whole damn can. Like a quarter of the can. You'll go through Lysol like crazy if you did what was on the instructions on the back of this can. Okay? Now, rinse toys and food contact surfaces with potable water after use. What is potable water? Just regular water that you would, clean with, not necessarily drink with, right? So sink water or whatever. Because, I don't drink. I drink bottled water. Then it says for fabric sanitizer, for spot treatments to disinfect. Oh, treatment, you can spray it on 2x2 area only. 2x2. Spray it deep, like wet. So all of these directions are different. And like I said, how many times have you read them? Then here you got to control and prevent mold and mildew. Apply to pre-clean surface. Hell, if I done clean, there shouldn't be no mold and mildew on there. But it says to prevent and control. So allow to remain wet for 3 minutes, let air dry. Repeat applications in weekly intervals or when mold and mildew growth appears. Do not use on polished wood, painted surfaces, leather, rayon fabrics, or acrylic plastics. That's just about every damn thing. There's some things you can't even use this on to clean. Because guess what? They're porous. It ain't gonna do nothing. Right? Do not use on silk, rayon, acetate. Always test on a hidden area of fabric. So, with that being said, look, hazardous to humans and domestic animals. But we up here spraying it in the air like air freshener. Come on now. Gotta make you think about it. So, again, you might do things a little differently now that you know this information, right? Okay, so have you ever dropped a tool in the middle of a service during your job while you doing nails or while you were, how about this one? I'm gonna do you one better. Have you ever dropped your fork while you were eating? Yeah. What your mama tell you?
Oh, you talking about blow it off?
10-second rule, right? 5-second rule, 2-second rule. It's not.
And I make my kids get another one.
Got to get another one. You tell them leave that on. If you're at home, right, is one thing. But if you're at the restaurant, what you do? Leave that on the floor. Don't touch. Ask for another one, right? So, what about cutting your hand or something while you were doing the service? You ever cut your hand while you're doing your own nails? What do you do? What are you supposed to do?
Stop. We'll go through like the little hazardous method.
Right. So we have a whole procedure called the blood exposure procedure, and we're going to talk about that today as well. Okay. Now, what's the difference between a law and a rule?
Rules can be changed. Well, laws can be changed too, but.
Well, let's just say what happens if you break a rule versus what happens if you break a law.
Breaking the law is an automatic punishment.
Make sure everybody's mics are muted.
Versus rules be something I can make up.
Rules aren't enforced as strict, and they don't have as hard.
There you go. So rules, you ever heard the phrase "rules are meant to be broken"?
Mm-hmm.
What about laws? Are they meant to be broken?
No.
Absolutely not. What happens if you break a law?
Jail.
You're probably going to go to jail. Okay? You might go to jail. Doesn't mean you are going to go to jail, but you might go to jail. At most, with rules, you may get a fine, right? At the most. So when we talk about the state board, we're talking about rules. Okay? Now, there are certain laws that they have to abide by, but at the most, we're probably just going to get a fine or lose our license. Okay? Now, with laws, totally different. When you start breaking laws, you could look at jail time, fines as well, but jail time. Now, let's talk about the principles of infection. What is a disease? What is a disease?
It's an abnormal condition in the body. Of the body.
An abnormal condition in the body. Okay? So, if you have a disease, are diseases curable? Some.
Not all of them.
Right? Some are not. Now, there's differences between diseases and viruses. Okay? A lot of times a virus is not curable. What are some of the viruses that we know of that are incurable?
Herpes.
HIV.
Ooh, herpes is a good one. That's the gift that keeps on giving. You just can't wipe that one off. Got that one forever, right? It lives in your body and it reappears and shows up, and then it goes away, comes back. Depending on, they have what they call flare-ups. What about, you said a good one, HIV. HIV is a virus that we don't have a cure for. There's treatments, right? Just like to suppress the virus or keep it from flaring up on you, and because people don't die from HIV.
They die from AIDS.
They actually die from the common cold or coronavirus or some type of small infection, because what does HIV actually do?
It attacks your immune system.
It attacks your immune system. So what does our immune system do? Our immune system it helps us heal and keeps us from getting sick. So if we have HIV and our immune system, our T cells and all that stuff are low, then we can't fight off simple infections like the common cold. How horrible would it be to die from a common cold or pneumonia, when there's things out there that we can take, medications we can take to get rid of it. But if you don't have if your immune system is gone, how are we supposed to heal? Right? So there's a difference between a disease and a virus. And there are some diseases out here that are incurable as well, but a lot of times you can get rid of a disease by taking certain antibiotics, medications, things of that nature. Okay? Now, what does it mean when we talk about modes of transmission?
Like how to get it from.
How are we going to get this disease? How do we get this virus, right? So there's 3 different ways we're going to talk about today. And one of them is direct transmission. What does that mean? Direct transmission.
Direct, like touching.
This is the most common way, right? Touching someone. Shaking hands with someone. I touched you with my diseased hand, or my hand with the infection on it, or so if you had, I like the boo-boo example. If I had poo on my hand and I said, "Hey Deasia, how you doing?"
Hepatitis.
She said hepatitis. Would you shake my hand? No. Kissing. There's another good one.
That's the monkeypox.
That monkeypox, right? Direct transmission, okay? Sexually transmitted diseases, that's direct transmission, okay? What about indirect transmission? What does that mean?
What, like maybe like a sneeze? Maybe. Is that
Using like
No.
razors, the same stuff.
There you go. So that's a good. So indirect would be like if I touched the doorknob and you never saw me, but then you came behind and touched the doorknob behind me. Now you got coronavirus. That's indirect. Okay. Like you said, sharing razors. If I have an infection and I'm shaving my armpits, and then my husband uses my razor to shave his face, and next thing you know, he got a staph infection on his face. Indirect. Okay. Implements. Right. So when you are using some nippers to cut someone's PNF, and they got staph or some ickiness on their cuticles, and then the next thing you do is you pull it out your pocket and start cutting somebody else's cuticles with it, or keratinized PNF with it, then you have indirectly given someone an infection. This is why it's so important that your nail technician, or you as nail techs, clean your implements in between clients. Do not go out there and just buy one nipper or one pusher, one clipper. When are you going to clean it? You're going to take 10, 15 minutes, because it takes 10, 15 minutes to soak your stuff in barbicide to kill the germs that are on that implement. So what does that mean? You need to have how many sets? I would have as many sets that I have as clients I take every day, and then some extra. Okay, very important. And they need to be in a rotation, constant rotation. Okay. Now, what you said, sneezing, that's called airborne transmission or respiratory droplets. So what's another example of how we, y'all remember when COVID first started and they were saying, you got to stand 10 feet apart. We got to mitigate. Y'all remember that word? I was like, ew, if he say that word one more time.
All that coughing.
Mitigate, 6 feet apart, 10 feet apart, because you got what's called airborne transmission. If I cough over here, it's very unlikely that my droplets of me, that's why your mama always said, cover your mouth when you sneeze. Because don't nobody want your sneezes, droplets all in their face. Anybody ever sneeze in your face? Babies do it all the time. You be like, my dog does it to me all the time. I be like, dang, Lily, potato dog, first, right in my face. Don't nobody want that, right? So that's what airborne transmission is. So y'all understand the 3 different ones. You will see this on your state board. You will see it. I highly recommend that you highlight it and know the difference. Okay? Because it will show up on your state board. State board, this is the state board. I'm so glad that you all are here. Because this is it. This is the state board. State board, they know that you guys just graduated school, 600 hours. They know you don't know how to do the best full set and the best manicure. They know you still learning. Remember, how many hours does it take to become a master of anything? 10,000 hours, 600 hours, you ain't barely tapped the surface. But you know what you better know? You better know how to be clean. You better know how not to transmit diseases to your clients. Because at the end of the day, the state board is here for the client, not for you. Okay? So now, when it comes to product labeling, so when you guys start buying cleaning supplies and stuff like that, you need to be aware of what's known as efficacy claims. What does efficacy mean?
Efficacy.
What does efficacy mean? The word. Look.
They can't hear in the Zoom, in the TikTok.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought this was on.
No.
I'm looking at this. You need to tell them what to do, because they saying all I see is the logo. Okay. Okay. All right. So what does efficacy mean? What is when something is efficient? What does that mean? If you're efficient at your job, that means you do what?
Great.
You do your job. You do what you're supposed to do, right? So what is an efficacy claim? If a bottle says, because it's on every one of these bottles, it's a big old ass claim right on the front of that bottle. What does it say right under the Lysol word?
What it's supposed to be.
What does it say? Turn it around, Deasia. What does it say under Lysol in red?
99.
Kills 99.9% of bacteria and virus with two little tiny little doot doot. And what do you think the doot doot? Because what do those little asterisks usually mean? It means we got something else to say. And when you go to the asterisk on here and you read what the asterisk says, it's going to tell you, and I guarantee you it's going to say, if used properly. So efficacy claims, 99.9%, they just can't write that on the bottle because they feel like it. They can't just write that on there. You have to, when it comes to product labeling, you must follow certain rules. Y'all remember the okay, let's talk about the pink sauce. Y'all know the pink sauce, right? Y'all heard about that lady, right? She just done went and made her a sauce, put some food coloring in it, then lied about the food coloring being in it, took the food coloring out. She done put on the thing that it's got this amount of nutrition, and it just made a label on Canva and stuck it to a bottle that she got from Uline and put her sauce in there. You can't do that. That's against the law. Product labeling is very important. And you must have an EPA registered number on the label. So when you're looking for things that are state board approved, and when I say state board approved, remember I told y'all that you couldn't take certain wipes to state board? Why is that?
I guess they have to be registered, huh?
Well, because in order for you to use certain wipes in your salon, it's got to say three things: bactericidal, virucidal, and fungicidal. What does the word cidal at the end of it mean, of anything mean?
Kill it.
To kill it. Y'all remember the word, the S word? Because you know they'll get me on TikTok if I say it. The S word, can't say that word, right? But what does it mean? It means to kill yourself. So when you see cidal at the end of, this has to say
TikTok can't hear you.
bactericidal, fungicidal, virucidal. That means it has to kill bacteria, virus, and what else? What's the third one I said? Right, it should be on that big screen right there. Fungi, fungus. Okay? If it does not say that on the labeling, then you cannot use it. So, when you guys go to state board, I put in y'all's kits those Lysol wipes. Now, when we here at the school, because you know, when I first opened the school, before I knew all about the state board and how they do stuff, I just went and got, you know, those little dollar packs of wipes that you see at the gas station and stuff like that. One of my students went to the state board with them wipes. Thank God she had some Lysol wipes from that I had given her afterwards in her kit as a spare. They said, you can't use these, can't take your state board. She was like, oh no, I got the Lysol ones. Okay, so when you guys are going, so here's a perfect example. Look, she done pulled hers out. You finna look. Go on, look. When you go to this flea market, y'all go to the flea market. Y'all ever been to the flea market? You know when you go to the flea market and there's somebody there selling bleach, and you know they probably did the couponing and stuff like that. You know. Sometimes you go up there and you'll see they got Lysol, but it looks funny. It don't look like the can don't have the same labeling on it. Or maybe they got wipes and it just say disinfecting wipes. That's all it says. No EPA registered number. And you'll find a lot of this stuff when it comes from China or Pakistan or what. It don't have no label on it. Or the label does not have an EPA registered number, an efficacy claim. It's got to have that. It has to have mixing and changing instructions there. or it is not approved for use on the state board exam. Period. Do you see it on there?
I see the
Efficacy claims on there, all that stuff.
EPA.
Your APA registered. They looking for that. So when you go to state board, if you bring some wipes, there you go.
Oh.
You bring some wipes and it don't have all that information on there, you cannot take your state board. Did you hear what I said? They will turn you around, tell you to go home. Okay? And I mean that. They will. All right? So, product labeling is very important. Efficacy claims, make sure they're on there. Now, when we start talking about preventing transmission of diseases, how are we going to do that? By cleaning, disinfecting, sanitizing our workstations, and I see it all the time. Y'all see it all the time on TikTok, these dirty workstations, dusty. If your nail lamp is covered in dust, who wiped that clean? Who wiped it clean? When did it get cleaned? Guarantee you it ain't been clean at all throughout the day, let alone between each client. Don't they put their hand in there? Look, you should be wiping down this metal thing that's in the bottom. You should be wiping this down. And you know, sometimes there'll be polish on there and it gets stuck from the gel or whatever. But you should be wiping it down with a wipe in between each client. Because they put their hand in this. Who thought of it? Who knew? Who knew, right? You will start cleaning things differently. I'm going to tell you now. Because if I'm your client, I'm like, you want me to put my hand in there?
Yeah.
Did you wipe it down? And so you don't always have to have sprays and things like that. This is one of my favorite wipes here. Rejuvenate. One thing about these is they are one-step disinfectant and they're for use in spas, salons, and clinics. When I went to the dentist the other day, they had what was known as cavi wipes. There's all different kinds of hospital-grade disinfectants out there. Okay, but these were made specifically for salons and spas. Okay, now when you read the directions for this, now remember it says do not use this for personal cleaning, meaning don't wipe your butt with it. Okay, please don't wipe your butt with it. All right, but it'll tell you here this is a one-step disinfectant. So what does that mean?
That you don't have to clean beforehand, maybe? I don't know.
So the first thing on here says pre-clean visibly soiled areas. You got to always pre-clean, always. Then it says pull towelette from canister and wipe hard, non-porous environmental surfaces. All surfaces must remain visibly wet for 1 minute. 1 minute. So that's really good when we ain't got time. You know what I'm saying? You don't have time. Time is money in this industry. Ain't nobody got time to be sitting here waiting for no 10, 15 minutes for something to sanitize unless you have put that into your service, right? You need to make sure when you guys are planning out your service list that you give yourself enough time to clean in between. And hey, 1 minute versus 10.
Yeah.
Now, are these more pricier than say Lysol wipes? Yeah. But you know what? I got 15 more minutes in my day to make money now. Right? So think about it. Weigh out your options. Okay. Then it says for use a 5-minute contact time for mycobacteria or 10-minute contact time for fungus. Okay. Hopefully you ain't got no fungus on your table, right? So where would you see fungus, you guys? Mildew and fungus. Where would you see it?
Mildew and fungus on the table. That's what you asked.
Where would you see things like mildew and fungus?
On a
Wet places, right? So where are we going to wipe? What do we need to wipe down for and keep it wet for 10 minutes with these? Pedicure stations, sinks, things like that, okay? So I wouldn't even waste my good wipes on none of that, because when you're talking about a wipe keeping something wet for 10 to 15 minutes, what do you got to do to ensure that? These are rejuvenate wipes. What do you got to do? I got to lay out some wipes and lay it on the table all over the sink to make it stay wet for 10. I ain't wasting my good wipes on that. All right. So these are great to have at your station, okay, so that you can wipe your table down. Because even them Lysol wipes, they want you to keep it wet for a certain amount of time. And at State Board, you ain't got time for all that. Okay. So make sure you're reading your instructions, you guys. All right. But it says it says right here on the bottom, claims, virucidal, contact time, 1 minute. Bactericidal, contact time, 1 minute.
Can you spell that for them?
Rejuvenate, REJUVENATE, ready to use wipes. They make this now. You can mix, just like we do Barbicide. They have different, but these are the wipes. I got these directly from the owner of this company at the show for free. They were giving them away at the show so everybody could try them. They're excellent wipes, okay? And then you've got your fungicidal, again, 10 minutes, tuberculocidal, 5 minutes, and then non-food contact sanitizer, just 30 seconds. That's pretty good in comparison to Lysol wipes, Clorox. Now, when you're talking about Clorox, I wouldn't even want, what does Clorox do, y'all? What does it do to your clothes? It's gonna put bleach your clothes, right? So yeah, you can use Clorox in the salon setting, but I don't want to mess up my clothes. What if I gotta leave it wet for 10 minutes on my table? What that mean? I'm probably gonna get bleach on my clothes. You know what I'm saying? So there's things you can use, but there's better options. All right. So what are the 4 modes of transmission, you guys? Do y'all remember? Direct,
airborne,
and respiratory. Very good. Direct, indirect, airborne, respiratory. Okay. Now, the different types of pathogens. You got contagious, and then you got communicable. What is the difference between a contagious disease? Well, what is a contagious / communicable disease? There's not a difference. What does that mean?
You can give it to anybody or anybody.
Contagious. You can catch it from person to person. Okay? So, communicable. When you hear the word communicable, what do you hear in that?
Travel.
Communicable.
I hear travel. Well,
Commute. Okay. So traveling, but what else in there? How about community? The community. One of the most contagious communicable diseases out there that we used to see a lot in the ER, a lot. That's a good one. The stomach virus, right? Everybody, you hear it's a virus going around. Everybody got the trots. They got the diarrhea. It's going around. You know, you get an employee or a friend that's at work and she runs to the back. Oh, well, it's a virus going around. Everybody got the stomach virus. But one of the ones that we saw the most was called MRSA. Anybody know what MRSA is? Methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus. Will you wake your girlfriend up over there quietly because she's kind of snoring in our
I
room?
got you.
Poor thing. Somebody give her a pillow.
Not in the line.
Okay, so those are diseases that, MRSA lives on our skin. It lives in our nose. It's in our nose. It's on our skin. So you can transfer it very easily. Okay, and you want to make sure that we are wiping down these surfaces, because anybody ever experienced MRSA? Have you ever seen what it looks like, or when you get an infection, a local infection? Let's talk about a local infection. What's a local infection versus a systemic infection? Local means, so a local infection is like a pimple. It's in one spot, you can see it. But a systemic infection, what is the word you hear in systemic? System. It goes throughout your entire system. Okay? So a systemic infection, y'all ever heard of sepsis? Someone, you ever known someone that had sepsis? That means that they've got an infection running through their entire body, through their blood. If it's in your blood, it's very, very, very scary. Because you 90% of the time probably going to die from it.
Yeah, my aunt passed from
Yeah. And it's easy to get a systemic blood infection by cutting someone or it getting into the bloodstream some kind of way. Okay? And old people, they pass from sepsis very easily. Okay? In surgeries, they have surgeries, things like that. Anytime you have, so this is why doctors, when you see them in the movies and stuff and they doing it, scrub, that brown betadine, all that scrubbing for 10, 15 minutes. Right? That's important when you're opening somebody up and doing a surgery on them. All right? So different types of pathogens that we deal with in the beauty industry. Bacteria, we heard about those. Viruses, funguses. What about parasites and biofilms? What is a parasite? What's a parasite?
right here, parasite here. I think of a worm.
Right. You think of a bug. How about lice? Anybody ever had lice? So when I was a little girl, I'll never forget being in school and one of the little and you know, you be thinking it's the dirty kids that got lice. It don't be the dirty kids that get it. They'll have it, right? They can get it too. But lice likes to live on clean hair. Hair that, because it's a bug, right? So if your hair is oily, this is why when I was in school, I'll never forget. A kid brought lice into the classroom. I was about 5 or 6 years old. And when I was about 5 or 6 years old, I had hair like yours, Selena. Thick and long and curly. Okay? A kid brought the lice into the classroom. Everybody in the school had to go home and get lice treatment, or in that classroom had to get lice treatment. Y'all know what the treatment for lice is?
Teacher.
Oh, child, I wish. They had this very fine tooth comb, and the comb was so fine you couldn't see through it. It looked like a straight metal. You couldn't see the little spaces in between. And there was a magnifying glass on it. And my mama had to comb every strand of my hair to grab the lice off of it, of my strands of hair, that every strand that I had. And when I tell you I cried and screamed for hours because my hair was long and curly, real curly. And pulling it, and just to get the lice off of my hair. So that right there was no fun. No fun at all. But none of the little black girls in the class had to worry about it. And why was that?
We keep oils.
Y'all keep oils and lotions and all, you know, all kinds of sulfate, all that stuff. Like, you remember, look, the big blue, the grease and getting your, I used to grease my best friend's scalp for her every day. Blue Magic, there you go. On her scalp. So they didn't have to worry about it because, you know, them lice couldn't hold on to it. So they would hop from the clean, dry scalps that get washed every day because those lice couldn't hold on to them strands of hair. That was when I said, I never forget, I told my best friend, I said, can you grease my scalp? My mama the next day, she was like, what is wrong with you? Why does your hair look like that? It's just it was so heavy. And I was like, I put grease on my scalp. I didn't want to get no lice no more. It was so bad. Worst pain ever getting my hair, lice treatment. Now they have shampoos and stuff like that you can put in, but they stink and they're real harsh on the hair. It's horrible. Okay, but parasites, that's an example of one. And in the beauty industry, you're going to see lice. Somebody's going to come into the hair salon with lice. Guaranteed. Okay, what's a biofilm though? Anybody know what a biofilm is? Biofilms, we're going to see those inside the pedicure chairs, inside the pipes. Okay? Biofilms are those the infections and stuff that you can get from the water. Okay, pretty gross, and that's why I like to use chairs that are pipeless, right? Instead of water coming in and out, cycling. We talked about that in the pedicure chapter, right? So we're going to talk about some additional terms related to disease. What does contamination mean? If something is contaminated, I talk about this all the time. What does contamination mean?
It's been exposed to something.
When something is contaminated, that means that something has been placed into it that was not supposed to be there. Okay? So when we do dip acrylic, because they love to dip, is my finger sterile? Let's listen to the word I just said. Sterile. No. Can I sterilize my finger? I can, but I'm gonna end up with nothing but a bone there probably when I come. Or it's gonna be real crispy like some fried chicken or something. Because sterilizer, remember, it takes heat, high heat, up to 275 degrees of heat to sterilize something. So if I sanitize it, sanitizing is only gonna, even with the Lysol, it says only 99.9%. Do you spray people's fingers with Lysol before you dip them? And at the end of the day, the only thing we can do is sanitize our hands. We can't disinfect them. We ain't even supposed to put our hands in disinfectant. Remember bleach or barbicide? We're not supposed to put our hands in that. It's not good for your skin. So, I don't dip nobody. Not in my good powder. What we do is we pour, which we'll be starting dip tomorrow. You guys will. Okay?
So, question: if somebody's sitting out here with this thing on their face,
I promise you I'm not doing.
that's what I was about
I'm
to
not.
say.
No.
That's just
No.
Cause you probably been touching it.
Scratching it, but no. I reserve the right to refuse
They
service.
can't say okay.
You reserve the right to refuse service, but yes. Now, if something can be contaminated, can it be decontaminated? Sometimes. Because you cannot decontaminate a contaminated pot of powder that you just spent $25 on or $30 on. Because you want to dip your finger. You can't sanitize acrylic powder. Or can you decontaminate a file?
I would think because it's rough.
I'm about to say, what type of file? Let's talk about just an acrylic file, not a disposable, not a metal one. Can you decontaminate that?
No.
I saw TikTok the other day disturbed me so much, and they were talking about how in nail school they make them clean and sanitize their files. I'm like, how?
Yeah, because it's grooves and
You cannot. You
it's
cannot.
porous.
You cannot. You cannot decontaminate. First of all, it's going as soon as you put some water on it, it doesn't turn into a floppy piece of. Hey, I don't know what they do at other schools, but decontaminating something means to get rid of the contamination. And there's things that some things we can decontaminate. And what are they? Are multi-use or single-use? Multi-use items, right? Now, here's another word you guys need to know, and this is all state board stuff, you guys. What does diagnosis mean? When you give someone a diagnosis, when a doctor gives you a diagnosis, what are they telling you?
telling you what's
What
wrong
you
with you.
The
But,
nature of your disease.
yeah,
Very good. The nature of your disease. Do you as nail techs have the ability to diagnose?
No.
No, we do not diagnose. Period. You recognize and refer. Who are we referring to? A doctor. You recognize and keep it to yourself. Meaning, it's not your job to tell a client that they got onychomycosis. What is onychomycosis? Remember my oh my what, sis? Oh my God, sis, you have a fungus. Y'all remember onychomycosis? That's how you're going to remember that one. But do you get to tell your sis sitting in front of you that she got a fungus? No, you do not. But you know she probably got a fungus, and what does that mean? That you're not going to what? We are not going to do her nails today, and we're going to refer her to a recognize and refer. Okay? So, diagnosis, y'all need to know that word. We do not diagnose. And then germs, everybody knows what germs are, right? Right. So, an occupational disease is a disease that what?
Associated with employment.
Right. Resulting from conditions associated with employment, such as prolonged exposure to certain products or ingredients. A parasitic disease is a disease caused by parasites such as lice or mites. All right. A pathogenic disease is something that is a disease that's produced by organisms such as bacteria, viruses, fungus, and parasites. And we see those in the nail salon the most. Okay. And what is a toxin?
The poisonous substances.
Right. So a toxin is a poisonous substance that is produced by some microorganisms. Okay. So know those words and what they mean. Now, microorganisms. A microorganisms, what is that, you guys? Very small, tiny, living, microscopic in size, living organisms. Okay? So some bacteria are harmful and some are not. Let's talk about that right quick, because there's nothing but a bunch of women in here. My mama used to tell me this all the time. Do not douche. You are not supposed. I know they sell it in the store. They got the flower scented. They got the fresh scent douche. Everybody know what a douche is. Do you know what a douche is? Right? They got the vinegar douche for the really smelly ones. Right? I'm assuming. But you know, my mama used to tell me, she was like, you don't put anything in there. Your vagina is a self-cleaning oven. Why? Why? Anybody know why?
It's supposed to be acidic.
Huh?
The bacteria and like everything that's needed to keep it.
There are good bacteria in there that's fighting all the bad bacteria. Right? So you got people, we got humans, right, that are at war. One's good, one's bad. They're fighting each other. Same thing, bacteria. They are all bacteria, but if you flush it all out, that's the best way to get you a vaginal infection. And best way to douche. Okay?
Yeast infection.
Yeast infection. Because you done cleaned all this good bacteria out. And now all the bad bacteria in there, ain't nobody fighting it off. So the first time somebody, you get you a little dirty dude in there, they out there. I mean, let's talk. It ain't even got to be a dirty penis. Okay, it could be their hands. You can touch while you're cleaning or something, cleaning yourself, and give yourself a yeast infection or something by transferring a bad bacteria into yourself. Okay, so don't do that. Don't douche, because that good bacteria is getting flushed out. Now all the bad bacteria has its way with you. And baby, let's talk about when you take a antibiotic. When you go to the doctor and they give you an antibiotic and you are a woman of a certain age. Hell, you ain't even got to be of a certain age. First thing they also give you is what? Anybody ever got a diflucan along with their antibiotic? Diflucan. Y'all know what diflucan is for? It's for yeast infection. Because when they give you an antibiotic, what does an antibiotic do? It kills all those bad bacteria that's in your body. So if it kills all the all the bacteria, if you take a really strong one, it's killing the good and the bad. So guess what? You're probably gonna. I always tell my doctor when they give me an antibiotic, go on and give me the yeast infection pill, because it kills every bit of the good and bad. Next thing you know, you got a yeast infection. You done just got over the damn sore throat. Now you got a yeast infection. So go on and give it to me, because now I know I'm gonna get it. And a lot of women, I know they'll be on here with the same. They can relate.
That's
Okay.
why I skipped the day, even though I'm not supposed to. They be like, take one in the morning, take one at night. I like, take one.
And that's why your ass be sick a little bit longer.
Yep.
Just go on and ask for the yeast infection pill. Just you young, baby. You young yet. Don't worry. Don't worry. You young.
They
You
tell
young.
you, eat some yogurt, you be fine.
You go on and eat some yogurt, put some in there too, because at the end of the day, I don't want to go through all that. I don't even like yogurt like
Have
that.
to take a bunch.
Okay.
Take a bunch.
Yeah, you got to eat a lot of yogurt to get that, to have that, fix that problem. All right, so we got our non-pathogenic and pathogenic. So the non-pathogenic bacteria would be, like I'm saying, the kind of bacteria that lives inside of us women, in our bodies. And then you have the pathogenic ones that are harmful, okay, and disease causing. Now, how do we know when we have an infection? How do we know?
We start, well, the glands.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes you can have that. But there are telltale signs that there's an infection, all right? And we talked about local infection versus systemic, right? Mm-hmm. So a local infection on this young man's face is what? Those pimples, right? How do we know when there is an infection? There's going to be a few things you're going to see. Inflammation. What does inflammation mean? If something is inflamed, it's usually red. If I'm inflamed, what word do you hear in there? Flame. What comes with flame?
Red,
Heat. So if something is inflamed, you'll see redness, heat. You'll feel heat. And then you may also see what's known as pus. Okay? So when you see pus, inflammation, redness, heat on someone's fingernail, are we going to work on it?
No.
Absolutely not. This is your I'm sorry, I cannot work on you today. How am I going to, because think about a paronychia. Remember when I told y'all my son got one of those, when he got his PNFs cut by a professional, right? And ended up with pus around his cuticle area. If I'm doing a manicure and I push up against that, what's going to happen? It could possibly pus come out, and then I got a whole nother issue. Now I got a blood exposure procedure that I need to perform. I don't want to deal with nobody's blood. It's 2022. I don't want to touch nobody's blood. I don't want to touch my own blood.
They get mad when you refuse them.
Don't matter. Oh well. You should be refusing service to anybody who has a bacterial infection that you can visibly see. Okay? Period. Now, here's that MRSA. All right? Staphylococcus or cocci, okay? However you want to pronounce it. Staphylococci. It's the most common bacteria out here. Period. Staph. Y'all done heard it? Mm-hmm. Oh, she got a staph infection. And usually what you see with staph infection is going to be like a boil. You've heard of boils, right? Or an abscess. I'm going to tell you, one of my, I'm a pone. They used to call me when I was in ER a ponologist. Y'all know what a pone is? A pone is a pimple. That's the technical term for a pimple. I love to bust bumps. And I ain't talking about a pimple on your face. I'm talking about an abscess that you can stick your hand through. I used to love to watch the doctor drain, and I couldn't do it. I'd have to be in there. They'd be like, "You want to go help Dr. Hobbs with that pone? Do you? Let me know if you get an abscess. I want to go. I want to be in there." Because I've seen them so big. God bless this one lady. She had one
Like,
that
why
was.
you doing all this in there?
Oh, because I mean, you'll see all, like, I had one time, they had to literally cut to open it up, and it was big enough you could stick your fist in. But all of that comes from staph infections, y'all. Hospital acquired or community acquired staph infections. Those infections, that pus that's coming out of there is very, very, very contagious. Okay? So if you and like I said, staph living on people's hands and you over here touching their hands and you didn't even ask them to wash their hands before they sat in your chair, that's the first thing you tell a client when they walk in the door. Hey, how you doing? Go wash your hands. Why do you think we got to have 4 sinks over there? Why do you think? You think I got 4 sinks over there for my health? You don't think that 1 sink is enough? Hell, a lot of times you go to the restaurant, ain't but 1 sink. To the restaurant. The state board required that I have 4 sinks for every 20 students in this school. 4. And if I add 5 more students, I got to add 1 more sink. Y'all only use one of them. 90% of the time, y'all use the one right there by the trash can so you can do. That's the most used sink. But if you've got 30 students in a classroom and each one of y'all got a client, because you know we in COVID right now. But if we didn't have COVID to be afraid of, y'all would have clients by 11:30 every day, lined up at that door waiting for you. That means double the people that's 60 people in here. 1 sink?
2.
Oh no, that's not gonna work. Then we got 1 in each bathroom. We got 6 sinks in here. Right? So you gotta have hand washing is a big deal because staph is one of those infections that lives on everybody's skin. It lives in your nose. It's in there. If I swab your nose right now and put it in a petri dish, there will be staph to grow there. It will. The great thing about it is it's in your nose and not in your body, in your blood, right? Inside. It only becomes an infection when it gets exposed to your actual a wound or something like that. Okay? So, methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus, that is MRSA. And what does methicillin mean? What is methicillin? Anytime you see the word cillin, what do you think about?
It's resistant to certain antibiotics.
You're absolutely right. And which antibiotic is this one resistant to? Methicillin. But you know amoxicillin because you got a baby. Anybody got babies, y'all know what amoxicillin is, that pink ear infection medication that tastes like bubble gum or something like that, right? Got to put it in the refrigerator. Huh?
I thought it was for food, but I can't remember.
They give it to babies all the time for the ear infection.
They don't you just give the babies. They give it
to everybody, but I mean, if you got a baby, she'd have had an ear infection, haven't she? You know why they get ear infection, or he done got an ear infection. You know why they get them? That milk running down into their ear. A lot of times, when they babies, the milk running down their ear, get in their ear, and they get an ear infection. Okay, you can't really clean their ears real good either because it's you don't want to stick nothing in there, right? So methicillin is an antibiotic and a very, 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 very strong one. And if it's methicillin resistant, that means that methicillin ain't gonna work for it. Means it ain't gonna work. So if something, we need to mute everybody. I don't understand. Make sure that's muted. Somebody coming in hot. Supposed to be coming into the Zoom hot. Y'all please mute yourselves. All right. So if it's methicillin resistant, that means ain't no antibiotic gonna cure it. So what that mean? Ooh. It's very hard to get rid of MRSA. And I mean very hard. I had an ER nurse friend of mine named Keith. I'll never forget, he was one of my best friends when I worked in the ER. Funny as hell. He had got MRSA. He had a big abscess on his butt, right there at the tailbone. And he just knew it was MRSA, but he was praying it wasn't. When he found out he had MRSA, he had good insurance. We worked at the ER. They gave him a pill. It was 1 pill. I can't remember the name of this antibiotic.
Oh, I know it was strong.
1. You know it was strong. 1 pill. That pill cost $1,000. Insurance paid for it. But the doctor told him, after you take this pill, I want you to go home. And I want you to take every sheet, every mattress, every pair of clothes, set of jeans you done had on, every uniform, your chair that you've been laying on, and burn it. Get rid of it. Throw it away. $1,000 pill to get rid of it. Oh, he got rid of the MRSA and every bit of furniture, every mattress he had that he took. Because when he was a nurse, so he knew he had MRSA. He just sat on this one recliner while he was suffering from it. He's like, nobody in his house could sit there. But at the end of the day, it's living on your hands. You got to clean that wound, right? He got rid of everything. He didn't let his children come around him, nothing, because he was so afraid of passing that MRSA to his family. So it's a big deal. You don't want to get it, and you definitely don't want to get it in your body. Now, a mycobacterium is the name for a large family of bacteria that is often found in soil and water. Okay, so y'all see that toe? I think that's a toe. Ooh, that's an MRSA infection in a toe. That's gross. And that's pus under there. If you open that up, it's gonna ooze and all that's gonna come out. Okay, so when I said that a mycobacterium is found in soil and water, they have been linked to, guess what? Pedicure bowls. Mycobacterium. So because this bacterium is present in your water supply, it's important that you protect your clients by properly disinfecting all implements and the bowls. You gotta wipe them bowls out. You have to not just wipe them out, disinfect them. Okay? And when we disinfect, we gotta hold that. We gotta have, for this one, what did it say for disinfecting, right? For virucidal, that's virucidal. But fungicidal, because remember, a mycobacterium is a fungicidal bacteria. 10 minutes. How often have you gone to the nail salon and got a pedicure and they just clean the bowl out, bloop, 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 sprayed it out, and then start filling the water for you? Come on, it's your turn. Come sit. What? Did they? 10 minutes. Not happening in the nail salons, you guys. It's not happening. It's just not. And you guys need to this is what you set yourself apart from these nail salons, okay? Now there's what other, you've seen the big chair condoms, right? We call them the chair, there's the extra large hair shower caps, right? But how easy was it to poke a hole in that when you guys was doing your pedicures, right? Very easy. Very easy. It's just a little plastic bowl. This is why I like the footsie baths. You got the liner that you can just put in, drop in, take out, throw away, and then wipe the bowl down because no water was in there, right? So, it's your choice. What kind of, last night, one of my friends, he came by, he said, I want a pedicure. He's like, and I said, you like my new pedicure chair back there, the throne chair? He's like, no, I don't like it. Of course he don't like it, he a man. No, I don't like it. It ain't got the vibrations on it, and I like the bowl with the bubbles. I'm not gonna have the bowl with the bubbles in my salon. I'm not. I don't care. I don't care. I know more than you do. And at the end of the day, my footsie bath got bubbles, and it has heat, and it has vibration, but that chair doesn't, right? So the clients, don't let them be the reason why they get an infection because you did. So if you're going to have these, make sure you're cleaning them properly. And there's a procedure to do so, right? Y'all, we talked about that in the pedicure chapter. So you want to make sure that your clients are not shaving their legs 24 hours before they come. Remember? Yeah. Yep. First thing you said when we were doing pedicures was, I shaved my legs for y'all. Ooh, guess what? She couldn't get a pedicure that day. You can't get it is a state board rule and law and regulation that all clients that have had Any razor to their legs within 24 hours of getting a pedicure should not be serviced.
And I read last night that it's preferably 48.
Preferably 48. But does that mean we can't do a pedicure on them?
You do dry
We can do a dry pedi with wet towels, hot, warm, wet towels, and dry pedis are perfectly fine. The only reason we soak the feet is for the client so they can soak their feet in the bowl. It is not necessarily needed to do a pedicure. Y'all see how I do my dry pedicures, right? So get them hoofs off before you even go in there. You good to go. The soaking part is just a bonus, okay? So you want to make sure you advise them not to shave or wax. And why should you not shave or wax 24 hours to 48 hours before a pedicure? What is the reason why?
for the nicks.
Because you gonna nick yourself, and even if you like, I didn't cut myself. What happens when you get cold? What happens to your hair follicles? They stand up, and you get what's known as what? Goosebumps, right? So when you shave, you feel, if you feel your leg right now, I guarantee you got one little hair follicle that's standing up a little higher than the rest, or maybe you got an ingrown hair. He get them all the time. Ingrown hairs because he's a man. He got hair on his leg, and his hair, he's African American. He got curly hair coming out, so ingrown hair. If he was to shave his leg, he'd shave it right on top of that follicle and probably cut himself. A little micro cut. They're called micro traumas, micro cuts. And if you're doing a pedicure on someone and that bowl is not 100% clean, and we're all human, you could introduce a staph infection into your client, and they end up with, how you think this person got this on their foot, on their toe? How you think that happened? Guarantee it came from a pedicure bowl. I guarantee it. Okay? So when it comes to viruses, there are certain particles that infect and reside only in the cells in your body, and those viruses, they live in you. Okay? It lives in you. There are some that are, like I said, curable, some that are incurable. But there's what's known as the incubation period. When we have coronavirus, remember they say how many days?
The 14, used to be 14.
Right. You can't, because there's a period of time where that virus is living in you, right? And then within that 14 days, there's a time where now the virus is shedding, but it's still contagious because it's not living in you anymore, it's starting to die, it's still shedding contagious, virus that you can give to someone. So then they said you cannot be in contact with anybody for 10 to 14 days. 2 weeks. That's why when I make you guys sign y'all enrollment agreements, I give y'all 2 weeks, because I'm like, somebody gonna tell me they got coronavirus and they can't come to school for 2 weeks. Right? So, and then somebody gets sick. Everybody gets sick at least Miss Sanaja, she had to have surgery, right? So if I didn't have that grace period for her, she wouldn't graduate on time, right? So with coronavirus, there's that incubation period and then that containment period, okay? So these are words that you guys need to know. So some viruses remain dormant for months to years following exposure. One of those would be herpes. That lives in you forever. So in most cases, a person is the most contagious in the days right before the symptoms appear. So it could be before you even know that you're sick, that you're the most contagious. So this makes preventing spread of these viruses so important, because you don't know someone is sick until they're sick, right? But again, like they just said, you may be the most contagious before you even get sick. So we have to do those standard precautions, treat everybody like they sick, even though they don't look sick, okay? So containment is achieved when those who are ill stay home. That's what containment means. You staying home for them 14 days when you got coronavirus, so you don't get nobody else sick, all right? So human papillomavirus, that's going to be your HPV, herpes, okay, HSV, Y'all have heard the human papillomavirus? Y'all heard of this vaccine they now give to young girls and boys? The HPV vaccine? That's for human papillomavirus. Okay? They are very highly contagious viruses that can be transmitted both directly and indirectly. So you can get herpes from, and I've seen this on nail technicians, on their hands.
I said, you can get it indirectly, the HPV, so that means I need to get my kids they shot.
Yes. If you can, or if you believe in these, or if you're okay with giving vaccines to your kids, some people don't even want to get vaccines. Some of them, some people don't believe in vaccines. But the human papillomavirus, you can indirectly transmit that. And they're giving it to young girls and boys now very early, okay? So both of these viruses can be spread through skin-to-skin contact and sexually transmitted. Because I remember when they first started saying they were going to give it to kids when I was like, ain't that a sex STD? You can transfer it from touch. So like, see this crust on this eyeball here? That's herpes. Herpes is going to always show up where it was introduced. So, for instance, if you have vaginal herpes or if there's sexually transmitted disease herpes on your private parts, you got it through sex. You know you did because, or more than likely you did, because it's down there. You ever seen people that get those big cold sores on their mouth? I've seen babies with it. And you know why?
When the adults kiss
Don't kiss my baby
right.
in the mouth.
I saw something on TikTok about that. A girl said she got it from her boyfriend for the very first time. They did everything together for the first time, and he ended up getting it from his mom because his mom was kissing him and all that.
Ew.
Yep. If you know you have it, then you ain't supposed to be kissing all over. It's when you have an outbreak, and obviously an outbreak.
She flared up right after she
Yeah,
started kissing him.
it usually happens immediately, and the first outbreak is the worst. And then after that, they tend to subside because now your body's getting used to it. It's in your body. The mailman's coming. Can you make sure that he gets those packages? Again, they ain't gonna have no. You might won't show any symptoms, just like any other virus, until it's too late. Okay, so you want to be careful who you going around kissing and being unprotected with. Because these things, you won't even know that they have it until you got it. That's when you find out you got it. All right. We know about hepatitis and HIV/AIDS. Those are blood-borne pathogens. Those are transmitted through the blood. So I remember when HIV and it became rampant in the 80s. Okay, this was in the 80s when it first started showing up. People were saying that it was only the gay men were the only ones who transmitted it. So it was called the gay disease, like women ain't gay, right? But gay men sometimes are only gay, when they're with men, and then they're straight when they're with women. You know what I'm saying? So that's those bisexuals, right? So then they changed that when they started realizing, oh, well, women can get it too. Yeah, women can spread HIV. Men can spread both, right? So at that time, it was such a weird time because if you had HIV, people were scared to touch you, breathe, or they didn't know anything about it. Then when they found out that it was a bloodborne pathogen, this is why I'll never forget Princess Diana. Y'all know I love Princess Diana, okay? Have a little relationship with her. She was one of the first people. She was a philanthropist, so she would go around, and she went to Africa, and she was holding little babies with HIV. Oh my God! Oh my God! She wasn't afraid because she understood that it was blood-borne. You only could catch it through blood and exposure to blood. Okay, so blood-borne pathogens are different from indirect and indirect and stuff like that. It has to be directly transmitted through the blood. Everybody understand that? Hepatitis, that's another one. Okay. Now, funguses. Now, this is what the one you pointed out in the book. A fungus, a single-celled organism that grows in irregular masses that include molds, mildews, and yeast. They can also produce contagious diseases such as ringworm. We talked about ringworm. That's a ringworm, you guys. That is a ringworm. That's a very bad ringworm on the face. Huge. And very, 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 very contagious. You ever, I remember you get ringworm from being outside playing and all that stuff. You be scratching, you get that little ring around it, and then you scratching it, and then next thing you know, my sister got it too. She got one. She got ringworm
It
too.
used to be a thing back in the day.
Yeah, ringworm. It seemed like it passed to everybody. Everybody had a ringworm. If you ain't had a ringworm, you probably had one and didn't know it. Okay, but ringworms, they are very contagious. So if you see a ringworm on someone's hands, are we going to be messing with that? Nope. Okay. So they tend to be found a lot in the salon and spa. Okay. But they do not cause human infections that are deadly or anything like that. Okay. So the most frequently encountered fungal infection resulting from hair surfaces, though, is Tinea barbae. We don't see a lot of that. A lot of men get it. You've seen men with Tinea barbae, especially in African American men. Okay. That is when the hair curls back into itself. You'll see a lot of times they have these growths on the back of their head. Y'all haven't seen it before. Everybody got somebody in their family that got them bumps on the back of their neck. And that's where the hair grew back into itself and it got infected. And now it's bumps and stuff like that. Okay? So we don't deal with that so much, ringworm and things of that nature. But at parasites, we talked about head lice and scabies. Okay, those are clients can come in with it. They can come in with it, and you'll never know. You'll never know who or how you got it. Now, the biofilms, they're colonies of microorganisms that adhere to environmental surfaces as well as the human body. They secrete a sticky, hard to penetrate protective coating that cements them together. So a biofilm, the sticky matrix substance holds communities together, making them very hard to pierce with antiseptics, antimicrobials, and disinfectants. Where are we going to see biofilms? They're not usually visible, and they grow in very large. They must grow very large to be seen.
Your teeth.
Is that where you said the
Your teeth. So it's a plaque. It's a dental plaque, right? That's an example of one that's visible in a human biofilm. But algae colonies, like in ponds, y'all ever went to a pond that's a standing water? And you see that like green or that orange colored stuff that's just kind of floating in the water. It's an algae. That is also seen in drains, like the slime that's in drains and stuff like that. That's where you're going to see that in pedicure chairs. Okay? So those biofilms, in the beauty and wellness industry, foot spas can harbor biofilms and require a lot of extra attention in those piped models of chairs. Remember I said pipeless and pipe chairs, two big difference. So, because they are hard to detect, their presence and you won't be able to see them. They are very underestimated, you guys. So they need to be they are the most significant scientific discovery in a few decades that we see in the salon industry. Okay, so precautions of cleaning these chairs. There's ways to clean a pipe chair, but guess what you have to do?
Take it apart.
I would wish we could take it apart. But instead of, if you've got a pedicure chair or if you're sitting in a pedicure chair, that is a piped chair. Okay, remember we talked about what's the difference between a pipeless chair and a piped chair. A pipeless chair just looks like a sink, right? Got water in, water out. A chair that has pipes in it cycles the water through. It's usually going to have the bubbles in there and there's going to be a little hole that's pushing the bubbles out. That chair has pipes. Guess what's living in those pipes? Biofilms. So how are we going to clean that? And you've never seen this. I know you've never seen this in a salon.
Can you not fill it with
You fill it with water. You have to measure the water. Fill it. high enough to where the water can cycle through, just full of water. Think about how much water you're going to go through just cleaning your chair between every client. Then you have to add the appropriate amount of barbicide. And how do you know how much barbicide to put in there? Well, there's measurements that you have to do. There's measurements that are required for barbicide. Just like there's measurements required for this. It said make it soaking wet, right? You got to make sure it stays soaking wet. Barbicide, you have to measure. So then you're going to take barbicide, put it in that water that you measured, take the barbicide that you measured, and put it in that pedicure chair and then run it for how long?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Just like it's a client sitting in there. Who doing that? Have you ever seen that done? I know you haven't.
All I see is them little giant bag condoms.
That's it. That's it. You've never seen nobody do a full cycle clean on a pedicure chair. And that is how it should be done if you have pedicure chairs that are piped. So what do I recommend? Pipeless or footsie baths. Easy peasy, right?
I'm gonna do the footsie bath, but I'm
Got
not
to.
sure.
And you know, like I said, my homeboy said, I don't like that chair, it don't vibrate. You can go on Amazon and get those little things, those vibrating things and heat things to put on the chair if you want to. You can do that. I want to say they're like $35. Okay? But I would rather have that than sacrifice my client's health or their wellness because I didn't want to take the time to clean my chair. And I still don't trust that because it's still a pipe. It's still something I can't see. I don't know if it's clean. I want to take one of those brushes and go in there like they do the bottles and clean the pipe. I can't see it. So that part. All right. So how are we going to disinfect and clean our implements? First, we're going to clean it. We need to clean it with soap, warm water, and a brush. You see these brushes? We have those back in the sink back there. When you are cleaning your implements, you're not just cleaning the outside. Look at that pedicure nipper there. You need to open it up. Clean the joints in between. Make sure you get every square inch of that tiny little implement. And that goes for every implement that you have, whether it's a toenail clipper, a nipper, whatever. If it has joints on it, you need to open it up and clean it, okay? Then we're going to rinse it off. Now, anybody ever seen these ultrasonic cleaners? You see them in the jewelry store. They take and they say, let me clean your ring. And they put it in there and it vibrates or whatever. And then they spray it off with the high powered sprayer or whatever. That's an ultrasonic cleaner. Those work too. I ain't going through all that. I'm just going to hand wash it and clean it. You know what I'm saying? But then there's also chemical cleaners out there that you can purchase. Now, we're going to do a hand washing technique. So I want to see how well you guys wash your hands. Okay. And if you've ever had a job in a hospital field or something like that, you've probably done this exercise before where you put the lotion on your hands and you rub it in and then they tell you to go wash your hands at the sink. And then they come back and put the little UV light on you to see if you got it all off. And nobody, and I mean nobody in this school, out of all the students I've had, has ever completely washed their hands properly.
It's always gonna be like a little speck.
It's always going to be a little speck. So what does that tell you? It's always going to be some. So you can't just clean things. You have to sanitize or disinfect. Okay? Hand washing with antibacterial soaps. Got to use, you can't just, don't go to Bath and Body Works and get you some, lemon scented or hibiscus scented soap and put it in at your hand washing stations. That's not going to work. It needs to be antibacterial. At least if you miss a spot with the dirt, at least you killed the germs, right? Waterless hand sanitizers, like I told you, one of the probably biggest gimmicks out there. All right, they don't work the way people use them. They're not used properly. Okay, remember, you've got to wash your hands first. They should have hand sanitizer in the bathroom. so that after you wash your hand and you don't touch that hand, that because some of y'all done messed up already, you go wash your hand, then you pull the door handle. Y'all want to know the nastiest part of a bathroom? Not the toilet. The door handle to get in the bathroom. The knobs on the sink. Because you know how many people don't wash their hands? Sometimes I sit in the bathroom and just kind of listen and just say, okay, this girl done went in here and blew the bathroom up, and that heifer done walked right out, didn't even wash her hands.
It took a minute to stop and think about it or nothing.
I ain't even thought about it. So what do you think all over that handle, the door? I don't touch the door handle of the bathroom. What you should do is once you wash your hands, dry them, turn off the water with your paper towel. Use that same paper towel to open the door with. And if you're in a restaurant that is decent, they're going to have a trash can by the door. That's why I love going to Red Lobster, because they got a trash can by the door. By the door, the one down here downtown. That's one good thing I can say about it. Go in the bathroom, trash can right there. And I'm like, people are like, why is there a trash can by the door? There's no paper towel. Somebody ain't washing their hands right.
Somebody open their door with that paper towel.
Right. You want to open the door with the paper towel and then throw the paper towel so your hands are clean. And then if there was a real good restaurant, they got some hand sanitizer by the door so you can give it one more good sanitizer before you go eat. Right? So, hydrogen peroxide and alcohol. Y'all, we can use hydrogen peroxide and alcohol in the salon. It's more than just using for hair. But it's used at 3% strength and works well as an antiseptic. You guys ever had a cut and you poured hydrogen peroxide on your wound? That's the worst thing you can do. Did y'all know that? Oh yeah. That's not what it's for. You know what that hydrogen peroxide, while it's bubbling, it's killing everything, even the live tissue. Even the live tissue. Okay? So what we used to use hydrogen peroxide for when we were on the ambulance. If I ever got blood, because I would get blood on me all day long. I always carried an extra uniform top to make sure that if I got a real bad blood, like blood on me, that I could change my clothes. But how did we get the blood out of our clothing? We poured peroxide on it and it would bubble. And the blood would disappear off the shirt. Well, what do they also use peroxide for in the beauty industry? The hairstylists. To bleach your hair, to take the color out. That's peroxide. If you've ever mixed the powder and the liquid, it's peroxide. It bleaches. It's hair bleach. Would you take hair bleach and put it on your open wound? And think about it, when your mama would bring out the peroxide and you scrape your knee and they pour it on there and it starts to bubble, it burns. It is killing everything. It's killing all the organisms, living or dead. Just bad or good, living organisms. So we don't want to use peroxide on our skin necessarily, okay, when it comes to cuts or open wound. But you can use it to clean the skin, to kill germs or your surfaces. So this in particular is an accelerated hydrogen peroxide. It says it right here on the container. So you could use this without gloves is what I'm getting at.
Everything is starting to make sense.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like I learned something.
Really? Isn't that what you pay for? Isn't that why you're here? Isn't that why you should be here if you come and say you want to be a nail technician and you don't know this stuff?
Yeah.
This is why I can't even argue with. I be like, that. Why I say argue with your mama? Because you can't argue with me. You ain't never cracked open this book. You don't know what you talking about. That's why we got how many people in this room right now? How many people are in this Zoom right now? They want to learn this information. They should know it. This ain't got nothing to do with nails. But this is a foundation. This is foundationary. That's why it's in this book, Foundations. This is foundationary information that everyone should know. And if you don't know it, it's understandable. You didn't know it before you came in here. But I wish you would say you graduated from my school and you don't know this information. I wish you would. Because I'm going to make sure you know it. Because you need to know it for the state board. Don't you? You got to know this stuff for the state board. Isopropyl alcohol. We can use isopropyl alcohol. Y'all rub it on your skin to clean, to disinfect, or kill germs. But it is not to be used as a disinfectant. You should not be taking your implements and just dipping it in alcohol. So I got blocked off someone's page last night on for this very thing. She says she disinfects her implements in alcohol, and I got blocked. Oh well. I try, each one teach one. That's what I say. Now, disinfecting, totally different from cleaning, right? Step 2, disinfecting. When we disinfect, that's when we're talking about barbicide. Somebody, will you hand me that barbicide right there? Hand it to me, baby. This is barbicide. All right, this is a big jug of barbicide. This will last forever, okay? Because when we mix barbicide, there's a certain way you have to mix this. You do not just pour it straight into a container. Okay, now you done been to the hair salon and you've seen these containers right here. You see this pink stuff? They've got another brand called, I think it's Cavicide. I can't remember the exact same name of it, but it is pink. It's the only difference. This is blue. This one is the most well-known brand out there, Barbicide. Now, when you're mixing it, it says here, biggest day, directions for use. First thing it says, what do you think the first thing it says? What did I say gonna be on every jar? It is a violation of federal law to use this product in a manner inconsistent with its labeling. Now, to make a hospital grade disinfectant, Barbicide is a hospital grade disinfectant. You're going to mix 2 ounces of Barbicide to 32 ounces of water. It didn't say splash it in the bowl until it's blue. It didn't say a dash or a capful or eyeball it. It said 2 ounces to 32 ounces. So I like to liken this to when I'm cooking. You know, when you cook and you're a chef or whatever, the chefs, you see them, they be like, shh, with their salt, shh, with the pepper. It's like being a mad scientist when it comes to, because cooking things is about taste, and everyone's taste is different, right? So you got your signature recipe and you're like, oh, just a dash of pepper and a dash of salt. That's perfectly fine, right? But when you bake a cake, can you just put, I don't know, let me eyeball my sugar. Let me eyeball the baking soda. Let me eyeball the water. It don't really matter. Have you ever baked a cake and mix the directions up and maybe put a little too much baking soda in there and the damn cake just went? You cannot do that when it comes to Barbicide. You must mix it exact or it renders it useless. It's just blue water. So, we're talking about nail salons here. Go to the nail salon, you go up to when they tell you to go wash your hands. First of all, they got all those nylon brushes sitting in a jar full of blue water. And you take it out, shake it off, rinse it off, and then scrub your hands with it. First of all, we'll tell you on here that it is not to be handled with your bare hands. When you're mixing this, you must use gloves. You must not touch it with your bare hands. So why on earth would you take, now that you know this, a nylon brush out of a jar of blue water and start brushing your hands with it? Not to mention, what are the steps to cleaning and disinfecting? So now you done took out this brush that everybody in Augusta done brushed their hands with and put some soap on it and scrubbed your hands with it. Now you rinse it off real quick and then you put it right back in that Barbicide. First of all, it's wet. So even if they did, let's say even if they did mix it and put exactly the measurements that are supposed to be there, what happens when you take that wet brush and shove it right back in that container of blue liquid? What are you doing to it? With all that new water and extra soap and extra dirt that you done put in there that was under your nail. You diluted it and you contaminated it. So now it's useless and it's dirty. And you just rubbing your hand. I cannot with these nail salons. I cannot. But you now have the information. Now you know better. When we know better, we do what? We do better. Right? So mixing ratio is very important. So when I mix this, I'm not going to take, so let's just, back there I have, or right here, this is how I mix these. This right here is 24 ounces. 24 ounces. It says 32. So I'm going to fill this up to, 32 ounces goes to the top. So what you're going to do, this is what you're going to do. You're going to say, okay, well, 2 ounces is down here. So I'm going to fill this up to 2 ounces with the barbicide. Then I'm going to fill it up to water with 32 ounces. Is that correct? If I mix it in this jar? If I got 2 ounces of barbicide and then I fill it up to 32 ounces at the top, it said 32 to 2. How much water did I put in there? Let's do some math.
Right.
30 ounces. So I'm 2 ounces shy.
So you should.
So what do you need to do? That means you need to pour 32 ounces of water into this container.
And then.
Put it in another jar, which that's what we do here. That's why I got that there. Put 32 ounces of water. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Pour it in there. Then take 2 ounces and add it to that. I'll tell you, I hate math, y'all, but when it comes to this stuff, I know my math when it comes to barbicide. Okay? That is how it's done. So you need to, this is dilute. Look at how blue this is compared to this. This, because I make these in batches. Because you may not have a 1 ounce, 2 ounce. This right here actually goes to 4 ounces. It's got a line for 4. It don't have a line for 2. So when I make it, guess what I do? What do I make? A double batch. Sometimes a triple batch. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Depending on how much you need. Because when I make these, I make enough for the whole salon, the school. And then I have a container. I put it over there. It was a white container underneath there for the extra. And I put a label on it that says on the very last one, pre-mixed barbicide. So that when you guys run out of it, we don't have to make another one. I can just pour it from this container straight into here to refill it. It's already pre-mixed. You know why? Because I don't trust y'all like that. I don't even trust y'all like that. Not till you've been trained on how to do it. This one is this in this container for when I need some more. Now that container right there is our container that we use to disinfect our implements and things of that nature, right? So when we are putting our implements inside this container, please, who is that? Stop. When we are putting our implements inside this container, somebody order food, you of course. We need to do what I like to call baptizing them. What? We're gonna baptize the implements. So that means you can't just have a jar of barbicide sitting on your table and take your implements and just put the tip in.
Sound like a teenage boy.
Exactly. Because the rest of it is what? Dirty. Didn't you touch it with your hands on them? You didn't even touch the tip. The tip touched the client. But your hands touched the rest of it. So it needs to be, how many of y'all been baptized? When they baptize you, what do they do? I know now, this is why my mama said, this is why I left the Catholic religion. She say, how do you baptize a baby? What kind of sins do the baby have? Right? But they just, sprinkle a little water on their head. We talking about a full submersion baptism.
No.
They put you all the way. We got a baptismal pool at our church. And if one hair comes up, you got to do it again. Because some sins, they crawled up to the top of the hair, right? All the way to the top. If your gown comes up, it's got to go under all the way. Same thing with these implements. They need to be fully submerged. Fully submerged, okay? So that's why when we make our disinfectant containers, and this is, and how many times have you gone to the nail salon and seen a disinfectant container anywhere near the damn nail techs?
I do see them, but they be full of implements.
Full of implements, ain't been taken out or nothing like that, right? So you need to go mix your barbicide. It has to be diluted. Now they do make, now this I got from Lowe's. This is a hospital grade disinfectant. It's called Inside. Okay? Ready to use, pre-made, no mixing required. So what does that mean? I just bought a big container of water with 2 ounces of actual disinfectant in it for the same price as this. Go get you some that needs to be diluted. Okay? It's so much cheaper. Make your own. All right? But when I mix this, this is for spraying. This is the contact time that we're going to have, right? Spray, so our contact time. But when we're fully submerging something, our contact time, how long do I need to keep it in there? Well, the directions say here, beauty and so it says, in beauty, barber, instruments, and tools, thoroughly clean brushes, combs, clipper blades, shears, razors, and other inanimate, hard surface, non-porous tools and implements prior to complete immersion for 10 minutes in a solution as prepared above. Then it says, rinse to remove barbicide after immersion and dry before use. Fresh solution must be prepared daily. Daily. Or more often if solution becomes diluted or soiled. Y'all ever been to the hair salon? You see hair floating around in the bottom of their little cup, like stuff floating around. When the last time you changed that, sis? So it said, okay, diluted or soiled. So with that being said, daily needs to be changed. And it needs to be fully submerged with a 10-minute contact time. So what happens if it's 8 minutes? You ain't done nothing. You might as well just wrenched it off.
Not really.
Just wrench around and wrench it off in the sink. See, y'all too young to know that. That was a whole comedy skit. I forget who did that one. Wrench around and wrench it off. Medea, I think Medea said that. So, now what happens if we leave it in too long? It's okay, but what's going to happen to your metal implements? I just threw away a whole bunch of them because somebody left them all in there for overnight.
Corrosive.
Rust. They're going to rust. And when you spend $40, because my nippers that I use on my clients, they not no $2 nippers. These nippers are 30. If you get some tweezer man nippers, them $28, $29 for some cuticle nippers. You want them to rust? Because when they rust, they're not sharp anymore. They're not sharp anymore, okay? So you want to take them out. And what did it say that we have to do once we take it out? Wrench it off and dry it. It's got to be dried. And then once it's dried, where does it go, you guys? This is why I told you state board is very, 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 very clean implement container where it's not exposed to the dust and the air and your saliva that you're talking and you're all over it. It can't be sitting on top of your table. This is a state board rule. This is not my rule. This isn't even the book rule. This is the Georgia State Board rule if your implements are just laying out on the table. it's a fine. Because those implements are not clean. And you can cause someone to become sick. You can cause someone to have an infection. And that's your fault. Because you know better. Now you know better. When we know better, we do better. Period. Okay? Now, what you can do with these wipes and stuff like that, let's just say, for instance, you have it on the table and you're using it on the same client. You didn't use it on another client. You can clean it off or wipe it off if you say you touched it with your fingers. I wouldn't want you to go cutting at my hangnail with if you touch the tip of the clipper, right? So you could take something like this and wipe it off and clean it off. But you need to disinfect them completely between each client. So that goes into what I said. If it takes 10 minutes and you ain't got 10 minutes to spare, you got babies to feed. I got to get as many clients in as I can for the day and make sure that I don't make them sick too, so that they can come back to me and sit in my chair again. So you want to have multiple implements. Now, here's something that I want you guys to look at real quick, because this is these things right here, because I know y'all have seen them before. And this one I'm about to really piss some people off now. What is this? Sterilizing. What did you say? What was the first thing you said? Sterilizing. How do we sterilize? Autoclave. This is not a disinfecting pack. This is not a disinfected implement storage pack. These things cost about $1 a piece. Okay, so let me school y'all on something real quick. First of all, if you see implements inside of here, but you don't see an autoclave, guess what? Because people who got autoclaves, they want you to know they got one. You don't put your Cadillac of a sterilizer in the back where nobody can see it. You see why it's sitting right there. I want everybody to know that we have these. Now, in order for you guys to be trained on this, that's part of the A&T course, because we, as A&Ts, we work with medical clients, right? Clients that have chronic illnesses and things of that nature. But there's something that I want you guys to, so this is what I hear from Neil. Well, I just store my clean implements in there. Well, guess what happens when you take something that you've touched? I hope you picked it up and with something like a tongs or something and placed it inside of here and you didn't touch it. Because what happens when you take something and put it into a sealed environment that has germs in it? Thank you, whoever said that. It's going to grow. Here's another telltale sign that, because they'll say, oh, well, we have an autoclave, but they pull it out and then there's a file or a buffer in it. Can a file or a buffer go into a stove?
Nope.
What can go in? Only thing that can go inside these are what, you guys? Metal implements. There's another way you can tell if something, so they're really just, it's more of a, and a lot of people, they do it inadvertently. They don't even really know, oh, what those are meant for, what it says on here, sterilizing, right? They don't realize that. They really think these are storage packs. They are not. You are doing your clients a disservice by storing things that are not sterile inside of this. Because you're growing bacteria. Okay? Especially if it's still wet. It better be dry. Because then you're going to get mold and things of that nature. If there is a fungi present. Okay? So, another way you can tell, will you pass that to Jasmine, please? I want any one of them. And pass it around.
You quizzed me already.
Oh, I did. Okay. Give it to one of them. Oh, yeah, and give this to Naja. What does it say on the packet here? It said, what does it say underneath where it says sterilization pouch? One of y'all read that to me.
When steam sterilized, arrows turn brown.
When steam sterilized, arrow turns brown. So here, there's a blue arrow on here. So if it's not brown, because I would tell them, let me see it. Can I see it, please? Let me see it. You don't pull that out. Where's your autoclave? Okay, well, let me see it. When it's been through the sterilizer, autoclave, then this blue arrow will turn brown, or depending on your packet, because there's different ones out there. It may say black. It might say purple, but it needs to have an indicator on it, okay? To tell you, to alert you as the client, to let you know that it's been through the autoclave, y'all. This is a medical. I went to the dentist. Guess what they did? Peeled it open right in front of me, and then they put these in here, and then they don't even peel it out in front of you. They don't even peel it out in front of you so you can see it. You a little zoomed in on me right there. So, do not use if packaging is damaged. Also, here, what does this say here, right here, Selena? The date and the contents. Here, whenever I have these in my salon, I make my employees or whoever's working in the salon write their initials on it, so they know it's their implements. You don't know one cuticle pusher from another one, right? A lot of times. Okay? So, it must have an indicator strip on it, okay? Also, when something goes through a heat, steam, sterilizer, what does paper look like when it gets wet? Wrinkly, crumply, crackly. If they bring it out and it look brand new, like they just pulled it out, it ain't been through nobody's sterilizer, y'all. Okay? So this is why I say this class is not just for a nail tech. This is for the consumer. You should know these things so that when you go to the salon, you are well informed and well aware of what's going on. Okay? They make these in small packages, larger packages for bigger implements, okay? For drill bits and e-file bits that you can sterilize, and the only ones you can sterilize are metal ones, because we got ceramic ones. Don't be putting no sanding bands in there. Stainless steel. So this is another example, okay? I want you guys to know, if you have any implements that are, you go and buy these pretty ones, right? With the rainbow implements. Y'all see them, they be like, ooh, rainbow color or gold. Right? Them gold ones are like for instance, if you put this in a sterilizer, that's a coating. What's gonna happen to it?
It's gonna come right up.
It turns colors. It's gonna turn black. That's not cute. I don't want no look like it got mildew growing on it implement. So this is a set of tweezers. So but these can be sanitized and disinfected. But they could be sterilized. But it's going to change color. So what color implements do you guys need to be buying? Or what? Silver. If you're going to use an autoclave. Because you ain't going to sit here and tell me that this went through an autoclave when it's got this rainbow coating on it. Y'all picking up what I'm putting down? I hope that you now, when you go to the nail salon.
Oh, I ain't going back.
I mean, I ain't trying to tell you what to do. Or nothing like that. But when it comes down to professionals, this is why. Do you see rainbow colored implements at your dentist table? They using gold plated scalpels up in there.
Silver throwback looking ones.
Yeah, you like, what is going on? This is old. What's wrong with it? Look old. It's been cleaned. Okay? So keep that in mind. These are red flags, things and I'm not saying that it's wrong to use this. What I'm saying is, if they told you it went through a sterilizer, they're lying. They're lying to you. You are misinformed. I hate to call people liars, but
I'll
So
call
you
them
prefer the single use versus the multi use?
why not? Think about it. Single use, disposable implements. You ain't got to worry about all of that cleaning and disinfecting. That's more time that you have to put into your day, your routine, right?
But the multi use might be more costly.
Multi-use is more cost effective, but you have a little bit more responsibility. And there's nothing wrong with that. I encourage you to do. I got an autoplay, baby. I love that thing and I use it. And I want my clients to see me use it. I want my clients to see me pull those implements out of that tray with the steam coming out and all of that. I want you to see it. When I open it, I want you. Let me explain to you why this is right and that is wrong. When you educate your clients, let me tell you something. My clients will tell you, you know what, Mary done taught me so much that I don't even want to go to nobody else. Give them a reason to want to come to you. When you teach them why they should come to you, they are coming back. Period. Period, poo. Okay? They ain't going nowhere else. Because now I'm telling you, these people that are on this live right now, that are watching us and listening to this, guarantee you a lot of them, they like, oh my God. Oh my, I ain't never going back. Never going back. Never going back. And I'm sorry. I hate to do it, but it's just the truth. If your doctor or your dentist came out and pulled out some implements out of their pocket and started drilling on your mouth, how would you feel?
I'm not gonna be
I'm hopping up, so I'm running out, and I'm calling the FDA, the EPA, the OSHA, the state board, the mayor. I'm calling the lawyer. I'm calling everybody. But y'all let these people cut on you, put eyelashes on you. They don't even speak your language. They don't talk. They don't talk to you. They don't have a license nowhere in the room. And then you want to argue with me. Argue with your mama. Right? Hello.
Her.
Her. I said what I said. All right. Now, we've talked about the types of disinfectants. Now, I want you guys to know these names. What is a quaternary ammonium compound? Because, you know, I could stand on my soapbox all day. Okay? We could talk about this all day. And ain't nobody going to tell me, because I'm telling you now, I have this business and this salon, this school, my suites, my license, because I stood on this information in front of a state board and passed an exam that allowed me to do so. So when I tell you I know what I'm talking about, I know what I'm talking about. What is a quat or a quaternary ammonium compound?
Disinfectants that are used on non-porous surfaces.
Okay. The most advanced types are called multi-quats, and multiple quats contain blends of quats that work together. What is an example of a quat? We just talked about one. Barbicide. When you on the state board and they ask you what is a quaternary ammonium compound, what is an example of one, and they give you a list and they say Lysol, barbicide, bleach, or water, you're going to pick barbicide. Thank you. Okay? So they can be, it says here, with all disinfectants, leaving tools in a quat solution for long periods of time can cause dulling and damage. Dulling, meaning they're not sharp anymore. Okay? So they should be removed from the solution after they have sat in there for the 10 minutes and stored in a clean covered container. We talked about that. Now, what about a tuberculocidal disinfectant?
It kills the bacteria that causes tuberculosis.
Right. So you're going to see these mostly in hospitals and stuff. Now, this is a tuberculocidal disinfectant because it says so. It says it kills tuberculosis. Right? Here, this one. Says here on here, tuberculocidal. It kills it. But not all of them are tuberculocidal. Okay? Some cannot kill tuberculosis. What's tuberculosis, y'all? Anybody ever got a TB test? Y'all done had a TB test where they shoot the little under your skin to test to see if you got tuberculosis. And if it flares up, then you got to go get a chest x-ray. So tuberculosis is a lung disease. Okay, and back in the long time ago,
You die.
you can die from it. You can die from it, tuberculosis. So you want to make sure it's passed through inhalation. So which one of transmissions is that? Respiratory
Airborne.
or airborne, right? That you can get, and it can be transferred. It's not transmitted by the hands or picked up on surface. This is for breathing. So when we're sitting in front, I tell y'all all the time, being a nail tech is the most intimate experience you're gonna have with anybody in your life. Your client sitting in front of you, that's the closest you get to anybody outside of your husband, your mama and daddy in your life. We less than a foot away from each other and they breathing all in your space. Trust me, you're gonna know when they start breathing on you and they ain't brush their teeth. You're gonna see how intimate that experience is. Okay?
Get me a mask.
Go on and get you a mask, right? So you want to make sure that your just get a one all fix all in one. Barbicide is that one. Okay. Now, phenolic disinfectants, they are very powerful disinfectants that tuberculocidal, and you won't really see those very much anymore because they're a form of formaldehyde. And y'all know formaldehyde, what do they use that for? Embalming people. Formaldehyde is an embalming chemical. And they can be have very high pH and can damage the skin and the eyes. So we don't really use those very much anymore. And they can be harmful to the environment if you put them down the drain. And folks love to spray this stuff in, we spray our disinfectants in the sink. We put it in the pedicure chair, all that stuff. So it can be harmful to the environment. So you're not really going to see them very often. And it damages plastic and rubber and cause metal to rust. So you won't see those. They're not readily available anymore, but you should use it when it's required, and usually it's going to only be required in like hospital settings. You're not going to see those a lot. Now, bleach. We talked about bleach. It's an effective disinfectant. It can be used in the salon and the spa, but again, it's bleach. It smells. It has a strong odor. So you want to be careful because it will ruin your clothes and things of that nature. And it's corrosive to metal. You do not want to put your implements or plastics in bleach. So I wouldn't recommend it. Again, it can be used. All right, but let's not use it if we don't have to. It's a 1 to 10 mixing ratio. When I talk about ratios, what does that mean?
Like the amount.
Right.
I can see it.
You can see it right in your head. So if we say that it's 2 ounces of barbicide to 32 ounces of water, what's that ratio? 2 to 32. If I say 1 to 10, that means we're using ounces. We'd say 1 ounce of bleach to 10 ounces of water. Okay? After 24 hours, it's rendered useless. So why would we can't even pre-mix it and keep it? So there's no use in making that. Like it's just like you can use it, and I want you guys to be aware, but be aware that when you see someone walking around with water and bleach mixed in a container and they're like spraying it and stuff, how long you had that container of bleach and water? I hope less than 24 hours, because after 24 hours it ain't no good. It's just water because yeah. Oh, you didn't know that. Oh. And you want to avoid heat and light. So if it's in a container where you can see it, guess what? Light is hitting it and it's rendering it useless once again. Okay? So when we are mixing these things, we need to make sure that we are using gloves and wearing glasses, because if this stuff gets in our eyes, it could it's not good for you. It's not good for the skin. You want to pour disinfectant into water. Why do you think that matters? If I have a container of this pure disinfectant in this container, and then I pour water in it, what possibly could happen? Splashing. So what you want to do is you want to have the water already in the container, and then pour because it's less. We're talking 2 ounces to 32 ounces, right? You also want to use tongs, gloves, or have a draining basket to get these implements out of the solution. You know, that big tall barbicide jar, it has a little tray on the inside to help you pull the combs and things out of it. Because you shouldn't be touching that with your bare hands, and then you need to drain it off. All right? And then, of course, keep it out of reach of children and read the instructions. So always disinfect your implements and things on a clean surface. You wouldn't go outside and disinfect the implements on the concrete, would you? No. You want to make sure that the things that you're cleaning on are clean as well. So you need to clean those things. All right. Complete immersion is very important. Like I said, baptizing our implements. And then large surfaces. What's considered a large surface? Because we gotta clean and disinfect our table, right? But can we completely immerse our table into some barbicide? Not unless you got a pool of it, right? So we want to, large surfaces, they remain moist. That's where those instructions come from, where we are spraying these things down and keeping them moist for a certain amount of time, okay? And replacing the disinfectant daily. Now, never get your hands on it. Touch it with your hands. You see she's using gloves, and she is pouring the disinfectant into the water. That's that pink one. I need to find that one. I think it's so pretty. It's so pretty. Somebody gonna want to drink it. I guarantee you. Don't ever place it in an unmarked container. For instance, that's a fine, you guys. Did y'all know that? Having things laying around with no label on it, it's a fine. Because we don't know what it is. You start pouring this stuff and you don't know what's in the container, that's a big problem. Okay? You never want to mix the chemicals. Mix chemicals, we talked about that earlier. Okay? And then there's a such thing as a log book. And we have those back there on the pedicure chairs. The log book is just saying that you disinfected the pedicure chairs. You guys haven't seen that yet because we hadn't done this chapter, but every time y'all do a pedicure, you got to spray that down. How do you know that it's been done if you're in a salon full of people that you got to hold accountable? You don't never know. How many times have you seen a log book in the nail salon you go to? Never. So keeping a log book is important. Okay, and it's one of those things the state board will look for. If you look on my little thing back there, you see it, Deasia, that board back there. You see where it say pedicure logbook on the black board. That is what's in the logbook, and you guys have to sign and say that you did it when you're in a salon setting. Okay. Now, jumping spider. Now. Disinfecting electrical tools, because somebody's going to say, how do I disinfect my lamp? How do I disinfect my electric file? We're going to wipe those things down that's why we have our wipes. And you want to make sure you're using these good wipes and stuff. All right. Linens and towels, capes. How do we clean and disinfect those? Washing them. And please wash them in hot water.
Where do you take yours? Do you take it to the laundromat or something? Or do you wash them in your regular?
Oh no, I have a washing machine at home that I use for washing the clothes. I mean, washing the towels and stuff, you know. But when you get in a salon and you've got, you know, a bunch of people doing pedicures and a bunch of people doing manicures, like these huge salons, you probably got to use a service. Like one of those washing services. But you want to use bleach, and that's why you guys will see that I use white towels or light colored towels. If you got a salon with black towels, somebody ain't using bleach to disinfect and clean these towels. They probably barely washing them and probably using cold water for all I know. All right? So linens and capes and things of that nature, they need to be cleaned and disinfected, hot water, at least hot water, and bleach on things that can be bleached. Okay? And there's color bleach and stuff like that for colors and all that stuff, colored clothes. Now, what is a chelating soap? A chelating soap is a soap that's not going to bubble and make tons of bubbles. We use chelating soaps in pedicure bowl. If y'all put Dawn dish detergent, you ever put Dawn dish detergent in your dishwasher?
My kids.
Your kids did it, didn't they? And guess what happened?
It overflowed.
Overflowed with bubbles everywhere. Bubbles everywhere. Right? We don't want to use soaps and stuff like that bubble when we're cleaning out our pedicure chairs. So an example of a chelating soap is something like, let's just say, Mr. Clean. Mr. Clean, when you put it in there, it'll bubble a little bit. Don't get it twisted. But it ain't doing like Dawn dish detergent and making you a bubble bath. Okay? So that's what a chelating soap is. All right? And we want to use those types of soaps and detergents in our settings. Okay? Now, the standard precautions for blood exposure. You guys have to do a blood exposure procedure when you go to state board. And I want you guys to pull out your pens and I want you to write this down right now. All right? And I'm going to tell you what to write down. Because there is a procedure for when you, and this is what you're going to do at state board. And you are not going to say this. You're going to do this. Okay? The very first thing we're going to do, if somebody gets cut or if you get cut, stop. Write that down. Just stop. Stop the service. That's what you're going to do. And it's stop and then write stop the service. That's what we're going to do. If you fail this section of the state board, you failed the state board. Period. Okay? Stop. The next one is stop. Stop the service. Then we're going to stop the bleeding. And how are we going to stop the bleeding?
Get a gauze.
A gauze. All right? Because you have a gauze in your state board pack that it says blood exposure procedure. So it's stop the service, stop the bleeding. The next one is clean. Clean the wound. How are we going to clean the wound? Because you got in that packet alcohol wipe. Okay, now of course this is as long as we're not gushing blood and we're not. Okay, don't try to clean the wound if it's like if you done chopped your finger off. All right. So stop the service, stop the bleeding, clean the wound, bandage the wound. How are we going to bandage the wound? With a Band-Aid. Okay. Then we're going to glove the wound with a glove, meaning we're going to put, y'all ever seen on Chopped, those cooking shows and stuff like that? When they cut themselves in the middle of cooking the food? What do they do a blood exposure procedure. I know you done seen it because I'm always like, who finna eat that? Because they'll put on a glove, they stop the cooking, they stop cooking, they clean the wound, bandage the wound, then they put a glove over their hand, then they get right back to cutting. All you see is blood all up in the glove. And I'm like, ew, who doing that? But that's a blood exposure procedure. You're gonna cover the wound with a glove so that you can continue to work. Now, if you cut the client,
You can clean it, but you're not supposed to keep working on that.
don't you keep working on it. You have to give them a 9-finger discount. Because you can't put nothing on no bloody wounds and stuff like that. You messing around with you can't do nails around a bloody cuticle. Okay? Or a bloody proximal nail fold, right? So we got stop the service, stop the bleeding, clean the wound, bandage the wound, glove the wound. And what I like to say is bag, bag, bag. What does that mean? We're going to bag up the trash. Put it, all of our trash, our Band-Aid paper, our alcohol wipe with the blood on it. We're going to put our alcohol paper with the look, all of that. We're going to put that in a bag. And in your case at state board, it's going to be one of those zip bags. Then we're going to bag that. Biohazard bag is what I meant, the biohazard bag. Then we're going to bag that into a separate, so we're going to double bag it. You got to double bag your bloody materials. You can't throw it in the trash can with just blood on it. That's going to expose other people to your nasty blood, right? So bag, 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 meaning bag up the trash in the biohazard bag. So that's the first bag, biohazard bag. The second bag is bag the biohazard bag into another bag, which you guys will have a big Ziploc bag to put that in. And then that bag goes into which bag at state board? The trash bag. There's only 3 places that things can go in the salon. Remember that. So Let's say it again. Stop the service. Stop the bleeding. Clean the wound. Bandage the wound. Glove the wound. Bag, bag, bag. 8 steps. At state board, you are not going to say any of this. You are going to physically do it. You do not get to talk to that proctor not one time. Everybody understand that? So when I know this, I've said it so many times, it's in my head. When we do this at our practice for state board, I'm going to require you to say it to me the first few times. And then when we get towards the end, when you guys get ready to graduate, whole thing over here, she ain't gonna know what the hell we talking about when we get to the biohazard procedure, because she just knocked out. Y'all help her now. Don't do it at state board, you gonna fail. So somebody tell me the procedure. Just tell me, just tell it to me.
Stop the service, stop the bleeding,
Clean the wound, bandage the wound, glove the wound,
bag.
That's it. That's it. And that's what you need to memorize in your head for state board. Now, when you do this in real life, do you not do this for real, for real? Like, think about what you do. When you cut yourself, you go, ow! And you stop. Right? You stop whatever you was doing. Then the first thing you do is grab it to stop the bleeding, don't you? You're going to go, oh, I need to grab something. I need something to stop the bleeding. You're going to hold pressure, right? Then you run, oh, let me find a Band-Aid. This is not hard, you guys.
Yeah.
You're going to go find you a Band-Aid. Might not get an alcohol wipe because that part, hurt, right? In real life. But if you went to a doctor's office, they're going to clean it off before they put a bandage on it, right? Then it's simple, okay? So, everybody got that blood exposure procedure down. Y'all, what is PPE? What does that mean?
Protective.
Personal protective equipment.
Yeah.
All right, and that's considered to be what? Gloves, mask, goggles. In the ER, whenever we have somebody who's bleeding a lot, if we get a call, we would get a call and they say, oh, we got a gunshot wound coming in, or somebody they done cut off their arm or leg, they bleeding, right? We're gonna throw on a cape, one of those fully covered, and then a shield to put on our face to keep the blood from a splash guard. All of that is considered PPE. Okay? Now, when you guys remove your gloves, y'all, this is probably one of the ones that people get wrong the most. I don't want to use my good black gloves. Can you hand me some of those? I don't want you. I can't. They're tight and they hard to get off. My black nitrile gloves. I'll show you guys when you are putting gloves on, and when you're that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. These are small. You would give me the small ones. Can I have the latex ones, please? When you are putting gloves on, and that's why during COVID, when I used to see people walking around the store with the gloves on and they pushing their cart with the gloves on. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Thank you, baby. You put the gloves on, that is to protect your hands, right? But if you've got your gloves on and you've been touching all this COVID covered stuff, like the push the cart and all that stuff, and then you do this, or you got your phone. I'd see it all the time. They be in there. I'm like, what foolishness is going on here? And they telling people, wear gloves when you go out. Asinine. When you put on gloves, you guys, there's a certain way that you are supposed to remove them. A certain way that you're supposed to take these off. Okay? And it's not just, that's not right. If you take these off at state board the incorrect way, you're going to get points deducted. So you need to be paying attention to this part. When you take your gloves off, you're going to wipe down your table, right, with gloves on. Ball up whatever you have in your hand. Ball it up. You're going to take this from the outside and pull it. Don't touch your skin. This glove is dirty. I'm going to take this, pull it off. Now this hand is clean. Now I'm going to ball this up into my hand. And I'm going to take my clean hand and go underneath the glove, turn it inside out. And now my hands are not contaminated. The inside of the glove is not contaminated with the dirty wipe, and then throw this away. Did y'all see that? Everybody understand that? Now, we already talked about the exposure, client exposure. Now, the same thing is going to be for if you if you cut yourself. So at state board, they're going to say the scenario doesn't change. They're going to say you have sustained an injury. And I want you guys to make sure you pay attention, because they're going to say to your index finger. What happens if you clean the middle finger or the pinky?
We ain't cleaned up.
You just failed the exam. You gotta listen. That section on the state board is a blank. They get to choose what finger. They can say you have sustained an injury to your thumb. Well, you put a Band-Aid on your middle finger and see if you pass. Okay? I want you guys to pay attention really carefully when they do that blood exposure procedure. Okay? Now, we ain't gonna talk about all of that. That makes fire exits and extinguishers and all that stuff. Y'all know you're supposed to have those in a business. I'm gonna tell you now, they're not free. I had to buy 2 of them for the suites and 2 of them for in here because of my square footage, and they were $300, $175 a piece or something like that. Expensive. Okay. When you're working with the elderly, again, that's something that we'll talk about when we talk about the A&T. All right, so your responsibility, never take shortcuts, follow all the state rules, keep your license current, and check for changes to the state board rules and regulations at all times, because these laws change. During COVID, all this stuff changed. A lot of stuff changed. But at the end of the day, when it came down to our precautions, our standard precautions, all of that was the same. I wore gloves and I wore masks and all that stuff when I was in before COVID. When they started saying, well, you got to wear gloves and you got to wear, I was like, we've been doing that. Why are they shutting all the nail salons down? Problem was, not all the nail salons was doing that, because not everybody is licensed and not everybody has this information. So that's all I have for you guys today. How y'all feel about it? Do you feel informed? You feel like you know a little bit more than most?
Yeah.
Good. And I want you to not just take this to state board. You need to take this along with you to your salons. When I tell you that it makes a difference, when I tell you that me as an informed consumer, I pay attention to this stuff. I said to him all the time, I'm like, man, if I was their boss, I'd fire, when we go play, I'd fire them all. When did I say that the last time? Last time we was somewhere and I said that. I said I'd fire everybody in here. Look at them.
Best $2 class ever.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad y'all learned something. But I look at things like that. When I go to the bar, I sit at a restaurant and I'm like, oh, I know she didn't. I know she didn't just come out that bathroom and didn't wash her hands. How dare she? I'm leaving.
Standing still working, go in the bathroom with gloves on, come back out with gloves on. What you did with
In between here and there, right? Not to mention, the OSHA rules and regulations, the EPA rules and regulations, all of that stuff. I notice that stuff. I look at people's, the stuff that's hanging up on their walls that I know that the state requires them to have. And they ain't got it. Go to some of these, and I hate to say it'd be the local smaller businesses. They don't be following none of these rules. 9 times out of 10, and you got to be careful. And this is why you always gonna be a what? A small business. I don't consider myself a small. I don't even use that term. People be inviting me. You want to come to my small business? And I'm like, well, I can come, but I'm a big business. Ain't nothing small over here. Okay, so I'm just saying, set yourself apart. Use the education that you have daily, and it's going to change. This what you learned today is going to change how you clean, how you do things at home, how you spray your can of Lysol, I hope. Okay? So with that being said, that's all I have for you guys for the day. It's lunchtime. I know y'all hungry. I'm hungry.
My stomach just started growling.
All right, so we're gonna get on out of here. Thank everybody who came to the Zoom today. I really appreciate y'all. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
They got plenty of
Oh, they got plenty of questions. Well,
Can't see
yes, I can see them.
Coming in. Coming in hot.
Huh? They coming in hot.
Coming in hot.
Well, we've been on this Zoom since 9 o'clock. This was a long one, wasn't it?
Yes, Lord.
Okay, so this is what I'm gonna ask. Anybody who wants to ask a question, please raise your hand and we will unmute you. Okay, we will unmute you so you can ask the question. Okay. I hope. I know Zoom is kind of a learning
said, "No, I
experience
just
for
joined."
everyone.
No, I just joined. Tell I'm gonna put the replay in there.
We're gonna put. He said he's gonna put the replay in here. Anna Ruiz, go ahead and unmute your. Let me unmute you. I'm gonna unmute you. Okay, and then we'll go in
She was
line.
unmuted. Hit it again.
Oh no, it says ask to unmute. Oh, okay, there we go. Ask to unmute. There we go. All right, Anna and Annie, go ahead. You can ask your question. Can I hear you?
Hello.
Hey, I can hear you.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I just wanted to say I love all of your videos. I've had my license for about 5 years, and you have taught me more than my own school has. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. I love to hear that. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, I really appreciate you doing this. I did only join in for like 10 minutes, so
Mhm.
how can I rewatch everything that you did?
Okay, so we're going to offer the replay for the people till Friday, okay? For the people who came in and paid the $2, will only those people. This will not be available for replay for just anybody. So it won't be on the link tree, but everybody who signed up, I have your email. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to email you the replay, and it will be available for a limited time for you guys to rewatch. Okay?
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, darling. Thank you.
I
Okay.
hope you have a great day.
You too, honey. All right. I'm going to mute you. We're going to go to Janice. All right, Janice.
Hey, thank you so much for the information.
You're
Very
welcome.
informative.
You're so welcome.
Do you do any online classes for out-of-state students to receive their license?
So how that works as far as online classes for out of state. The state of Georgia doesn't care what state you live in, but you do have to have at least 375 hours in person. So what that means is if you have how I can do you 100% virtually is if you have license hour or hours from another school. Let's just say you went to cosmetology school and you dropped out. And you have at least 375 hours of in-person at your school on a transcript that you can give me. I can take those hours and then you can do the online portion 100% via Zoom or join us or do the Mind Tap 100% online. That's the only way I can do it. The state requires at least, there's some things you have to do in person. So like I said, like the acrylic nails and the pedicures, they have to do 60 manicures before they can graduate. There's no way that I can, see that you did 60 manicures and give you the hours without you actually doing them. Now, what we are trying to do, me and my husband, we're trying to put together a campus for living quarters for people who want to, that are able to get to Georgia, get to Augusta. We want to try to include it into our tuition, so that way you may be, staying in the same room with another young lady or not a guy, but a young lady who wants to, come to school as well, that can come for just so, because I can do the online portion wherever you are, but you have to be able to come to Georgia and be in school with me for 375 hours. And when we do that, what we'll do is we'll probably have an instructor that does the night part and I do the day part, or vice versa, and that will allow you to be able to get like 12 hours a day and get done in a very quick amount of time. So we're thinking about doing that. We're working on it. So just bear with us if that's an option for you. We'd love to have you. But again, if you have hours from another school that will give you a transcript, and they have to give you a transcript, y'all. I know a lot of people are saying, my school won't give me a transcript. They are required by law to give you a transcript. Don't let them tell you that. So hopefully that's an option for you, Janice. But I really appreciate you coming in. I appreciate your question.
All right, thank you so much.
You're
I appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions before we go? Annie, did you have another question? Your hands is still raised. I didn't know. Let's see. Ask her if she had another question. Sarai has one. Annie, did you have anything else? Okay, no, she's gone. All right, Sarai, what you got? Sarahi.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi.
I want to say thank you for your information.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
My question is, what is the right container, like to put the implements in? Like, what would it be?
You can put a container in your implements in any container, but it has to be closed. So, for instance, this is an example of my container. Okay, this is an implement container, and it needs to say like this. That's a bad example because it doesn't have the label on it. This one says clean implements. It has to be labeled. Okay, say if the state board comes and they look in your drawer and your implements are just laying out and it doesn't say either clean or dirty, then you'll get a fine in the state of Georgia. And I'm pretty sure it's the same way in every state. Okay, but it needs to say clean, disinfected implements or clean, and then the other one should say dirty. Everything has to be labeled inside a licensed salon. Okay, so any type of container, it could be a Tupperware box. It could be a wooden box, any kind of box that has a top and no dust or any type of debris can get inside of it.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're
Have a
welcome.
good day.
You too, darling. Anybody else? Anyone else? Okay. All right. Well, so we are going to offer the replay, you guys. So don't worry, the replay will be available to the people who came in today, but only for a limited time. All right. So you guys, you're so welcome, Erica. Thank you, everybody who is in here. I can't even see how many people are in here right now because I don't have that pulled up, but I am so grateful for you guys. And I appreciate everyone. I'll probably try to read all these comments. You know, when I'm teaching, I try not to. 25 people. I try not to read too many of the comments because it distracts me. But I will read every last one of these when this is over with. And if you guys ever have any questions about anything, just email me. You have my email address. It should be in. You got the email from me this morning. It came from, that's my actual email address. So email me if you have any questions and I'll be so happy to answer them. It may take me a little while, just a lot of people, but I will definitely answer your questions. So with that being said, if no one else has any questions that they want to ask, we're going to get out of here. I'm going to grab me some lunch real quick and finish the day. I was supposed to have a client. I don't know if she's coming or not, or if she's just running late. She's probably sitting out there waiting on me or something, but that's it. That's all I have for you guys. So thank you again. Mary Negron out.